Chapter 1986. On the ruins of the Qin family, Tang Yun stared blankly at the storage ring in her hand. This storage ring had a soul remembrance message that Tang Ao had just left behind, as well as countless treasures. The sect Tang Yun belonged to was called Green Lotus Valley. Although the Green Lotus Valley was not one of the top 8 sects in the mysterious Yellow Territory, its heritage was much longer than many of the top 8 sects and the 6 great clans of the remote antiquity. Moreover, the heritage of the Green Lotus Valley was not inferior to those forces. However, Tang Yun was certain that even if all the treasures in Green Lotus Valley were added up, it would not be as many as the treasures in the storage ring Tang Ao had given her. The sole message left by Tang Ao was for her to take over as the family head of the Tang family. These cultivation resources were for her to cultivate and develop the Tang family. Inside the storage ring, Tang Yun saw mountains of spirit stones, various elixirs, cultivation technique manuals, and spiritual weapons. Tang Yun could not understand. Although Tang Ao was a life and death realm warrior, he should not be this rich. However, Tang Yun did not know how terrifying Tang Ao's harvest was after plundering Great Dream Dao Master's Dao Master. These items might seem like a lot, but in fact, compared to the remaining treasures on Tang Ao's body, these were just a drop in the bucket. It was not that Tang Ao did not want to leave more things, but because these cultivation resources were enough for Tang Yun and the warriors of the Tang family to cultivate, so Tang Ao did not leave more. Leaving too many cultivation resources was not conducive to the growth of the warriors of the Tang family, but it would breed laziness. It would give them the illusion that they did not need to fight for cultivation resources and the family would provide them with an endless supply. Tang Ao left these cultivation resources for the warriors of the Tang family to grow quickly. As for whether they could become top experts, it would depend on these people's luck. Looking at Tang Ao leaving, Tang Yun secretly vowed to make good use of these cultivation resources and develop the Tang family into a top force like the 6 families of the ancient desolation. Uncle Fu. After thinking for a moment, Tang Yun made her first decision. She would move the Tang family. Both the 8 sects and the 6 families of the ancient desolation were located in places with abundant spirit energy. Tang Yun also found a good place during her training. It was Black Sky Mountain in the east of the Sky Dream Dynasty. Black Sky Mountain's spirit energy was very dense, and there were various stage beasts for the Tang family disciples to train in. Most importantly, Black Sky Mountain had a natural boundary formation. If Tang Yun had not entered by chance, she would not have been able to enter Black Sky Mountain either. Miss, do you have any plans? Uncle Fu was very fond of Tang Yun. Fu Bo was all alone in the world, so this little girl was like his granddaughter. When Tang Ao wasn't around, Tang Yun was the Tang family's patriarch. Uncle Fu, go gather all the disciples of the Tang family at Bluestone City's Tang Manor. One day later, we will move to Xiantian Mountain. Tang Fu and Tang Lai, Ao brother left me of cultivation resources. Of Clan Yun family Lai sect. King Yun said, Tang City Sky City family, and King of Brother, Tang City Green. Yun Mountain Brother, Mountain, Tang Clan of Yun. Chapter 1987. At this point, Uncle Fu thought for a moment and said, As for the rest of the Tang family disciples, the furthest they can gather at noon tomorrow. At that time, I will bring these people and set off. This way we can reach Profound Sky Mountain in less than 3 days and settle down. Uncle Fu wasn't too familiar with the threat of Mysterious Mountain. All he knew was that Mysterious Mountain wasn't too far from Bluestone City. Although Mysterious Mountain was within the territory of the Heavenly Dream Dynasty, the dynasty hadn't been managing that area for a long time. On the other side, Tang Ao was still chasing Feng Yao. The wind, thunder, nether cloud flew through the sky at an astonishing speed. Feng Yao was spurting out essence blood in front of him as he unleashed secret techniques to increase his speed. However, Tang Ao was still able to easily close the distance between him and Feng Yao. If Feng Yao had stopped and fought him with all his might, the outcome would still be uncertain. But now that Feng Yao was afraid of him, he had no chance of winning. Tang Ao was also surprised by Feng Yao's speed. If other warriors used the wind thunder dark cloud to chase him, Tang Ao would definitely not be able to escape. But Tang Ao had used the wind thunder dark cloud to chase Feng Yao for so long and was only closing the distance between them. There was still some time before he could catch up to Feng Yao. Tang Ao, we have no enmity in the past. We only have a small grudge recently. Why do you have to force me? I promise that I will not touch the Tang family at all. I will not even get close to the Tang family's territory in the future. How about you just let it go? Otherwise, if I fight you with all my might, it's hard to say who will be the winner. Against Tang Ao, Feng Yao was at his wits' end. He could not beat him, nor could he run away. At this moment, Feng Yao even wondered if he had been cultivating the heaven-devouring demonic art, a top-notch demonic cultivation technique. Was he, Feng Yao, too useless? Or was the heaven-devouring demon technique not good enough? Otherwise, why would he be in such a predicament? In fact, Feng Yao was already very strong to be able to fight Feng Yao and defeat Xiaohou. Hence, it wasn't that Feng Yao wasn't strong enough, nor was it that the heaven-devouring demon technique wasn't strong enough. It was because Tang Ao, who had mastered the 9 Dragons Emperor's jade body, was just too strong. Tang Ao's life spirit, martial techniques, cultivation techniques, and secret arts were all stronger than Feng Yao's. Moreover, Tang Ao was a level 9 astral reaching realm warrior in his previous life, so his battling experience was not something that Feng Yao could compete with. Just now, Feng Yao had used the heaven-devouring demon art to summon that dual-blade skeleton warrior, which was able to compete with Tang Ao, but Feng Yao himself, although he was already at the peak of life and death realm level 9, he was still no match for Tang Ao. If he did not use the heaven-devouring demonic art, Tang Ao was 70% confident that he could kill Feng Yao with a single blow. Looking at the approaching Tang Ao, Feng Yao's heart was filled with anger and regret. At the same time, she was a little hesitant. The reason for her anger was naturally because Tang Ao had been relentlessly chasing after her. The reason for her regret was because she had left seclusion before reaching astral reaching realm. As for her hesitation, it was because Feng Yao had a space-cleaving talisman. This space-cleaving talisman had been left behind by the founder of Infusion sect. Using this talisman, Feng Yao could shatter the void and immediately leave the black-yellow continent. Chapter 1988. While Feng Yao was pondering, Tang Ao's demon beheading axe had already arrived. Seeing Tang Ao's merciless attack, Feng Yao spurted out a mouthful of blood. Feng Yao clenched his teeth and instantly activated the space-breaking talisman. Then, Tang Ao's expression changed, because Tang Ao was shocked to see Feng Yao take out a space-breaking talisman before his axe blade could reach him. After activating the space-breaking talisman, a spatial crack appeared behind Feng Yao, and his figure was swept away by a beam of white light. Tang Ao's sharp attack bombarded the white light, but it was like a clay ox entering the sea, not even causing a ripple. Seeing Feng Yao escape with the space-breaking talisman, Tang Ao was somewhat depressed. Originally, he would have been able to kill Feng Yao here, but Tang Ao didn't expect Feng Yao to have a space-breaking talisman to save his life. After Feng Yao used the space-breaking talisman, Tang Ao naturally couldn't stop Feng Yao with his current strength. Just like Tang Ao, Feng Yao was also extremely depressed. He had only brought his disciple to a small bluestone city in his spare time. Feng Yao had never thought that he would be so unlucky to encounter a top martial artist like Tang Ao in a small bluestone city. Even though he cultivated the devouring demon art and had the demon devouring all, he was still no match for Tang Ao. Previously, Feng Yao had planned to use the space-breaking talisman to leave the black-yellow continent when he reached the peak of astral-reaching realm. But today, in order to save his life, he had no choice but to leave early. In the residence of the ancient Xiahou family, Qin Yueshuang's face turned pale, and she spurted out another mouthful of blood. After marrying into the Xiahou family for 18 years, she was finally free. After regaining her freedom, Qin Yueshuang didn't feel happy at all. On the contrary, she found it ridiculous. She was the direct disciple of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect and the young madam of the ancient Xiahou family. However, only Qin Yueshuang knew that the reason why Xiahou Linyuan married her was not because he liked her, but because he wanted to use her Destiny Crate Myrtle Dao constitution to cultivate. At the moment, her Destiny Crate Myrtle Dao constitution had been completely devoured by Xiahou Linyuan, and she only had less than a year left to live. Qin Yueshuang didn't feel sorry for herself at all. She just thought it was ridiculous. At the beginning of her cultivation, she had schemed against Tang Ao to obtain the Destiny Stone of the Tang clan. With the help of the Destiny Stone, she had achieved the Violet Myrtle Dao physique. However, how could Qin Yueshuang have expected that the Destiny Crate Myrtle Dao constitution that she had worked so hard to obtain would be taken away by Xiahou Linyuan so easily? After obtaining her Destiny Crate Myrtle Dao form, Xiahou Linyuan only said one sentence to her. "I will have many women in the future, but I will remember you." In addition, the Qin clan of the Bluestone City will also become one of the top families of the Heavenly Dream dynasty. If it were before Qin Yueshuang started cultivating, this promise might have been quite amazing. However, after Qin Yueshuang started cultivating, she had taken back so much from the Underworld Emperor's secret realm, and her cultivation base had increased to the 7th level of the Life and Death realm. These years, with the support of the Xiahou family's almost limitless cultivation resources, she had cultivated to the peak of the 9th level of the Life and Death realm. Chapter 1989. But even so, she only had less than a year of cultivation. After leaving Xiahou Linyuan's residence, Qin Yueshuang returned to her residence. Qin Yueshuang saw a mountain of letters the moment she entered. She'd been stuck in Xiahou Linyuan's residence all these years, unable to leave. Naturally, Qin Wudao hadn't been able to find her. Qin Yueshuang opened the letters and read through them one by one. Qin Yueshuang frowned when she read that her father had seized the position of city lord of the Tang clan a year after she'd left. At this point, Qin Yueshuang no longer cared about power. Moreover, a mere city lord of Bluestone City meant nothing to Qin Yueshuang. She frowned because Qin Yueshuang felt that the Qin clan owed the Tang clan too much. If not for Tang Ao's father, Tang Zhan's generosity, the Qin clan wouldn't have been able to settle down in Bluestone City. Not only had they not been grateful, but they'd schemed against Tang Ao and stolen the Tang clan's Destiny Stone. After reading the letter, Qin Yueshuang continued to read the rest. Qin Yueshuang's frown deepened when she read that the Qin clan had continuously suppressed the Tang clan and taken control of Bluestone City. Although Tang Ao had escaped with grievous injuries after the end of the Nether Emperor's secret realm, he hadn't died. Given Tang Ao's martial talent, his current cultivation wasn't much weaker than hers. Qin Yueshuang didn't continue reading the rest of the letters. Now that she was free, she wanted to return to Bluestone City immediately. If possible, she would do everything she could to alleviate the conflict between the Tang and Qin clans. She was on the brink of death. If she fell and Tang Ao returned, the Qin clan's only fate would be destruction. House Xiahou of the primordial antiquity was quite far from the Skydream dynasty, but Qin Yueshuang was able to travel at an incredible speed thanks to the Azure Qilin bird, which was unique to House Xiahou. Not long after, Qin Yueshuang returned to Bluestone City after many years. As soon as they returned to Bluestone City, Qin Yueshuang sensed that something was wrong. Scanning with her soul remembrance, Qin Yueshuang almost fainted. Under Qin Yueshuang's soul remembrance perception, the current Qin Manor had already become a pile of ruins. Not a single Qin Manor martial artist could be seen. Whether it was his father, Qin Wudao, or his younger brother, Qin Xingho, they were all gone. In a flash, Qin Yueshuang appeared beside the ruins of Qin Mansion. Then, Qin Yueshuang opened her hand, and a 6th-level Sea of Souls realm martial artist was caught by Qin Yueshuang. This person's movements were very suspicious, cowering and hiding in the crowd. "Who are you?" With the Qin family annihilated, Qin Yueshuang's expression was exceptionally cold. After Du Xian was caught by Qin Yueshuang, he immediately knew that Qin Yueshuang's cultivation was much higher than his. Du Xian had originally come here to look for her apprentice, Qin Taizhou. However, when she came here to inquire, after asking around, Du Xian found out that the Tang family's leader, Tang Ao, who had disappeared for many years, had returned. His own disciple, Qin Iron Shou, had been killed by Tang Ao for killing Tang family disciples. At the same time, all the Qin family martial artists had been dragged into the underworld by the ghost soldiers, beyond redemption. "You are young lady Qin Yueshuang." Just when Du Xian didn't know what to say, he suddenly remembered that Qin Iron Shou had shown him the portrait of the Qin family's young lady. Even though Qin Yueshuang's face was slightly pale, Du Xian was certain that she wasn't mistaken. This person in front of her was undoubtedly Qin Yueshuang. Qin Iron Shou had once said that Qin Yueshuang had already reached life and death realm's 6th layer when the Underworld Emperor's secret realm ended. If this person in front of him wasn't Qin Yueshuang, who else could it be? You know me? Qin Yueshuang's brows creased. Qin Yueshuang was certain that she had never seen this martial artist before. Therefore, Qin Yueshuang didn't know how this person knew her. Just when Qin Yueshuang was confused, Du Xian had already used soul remembrance to tell Qin Yueshuang what had happened in Limestone City in the past 2 days. Hearing Du Xian's words, Qin Yueshuang flew into a rage. From Du Xian's words, Qin Yueshuang had heard that the Qin family's clansmen had been dragged into the underworld by Tang Ao's ghost soldiers. Normally, martial artists could enter the reincarnation cycle after death. However, if they were directly dragged into the underworld, they would be consigned to eternal damnation. "Tang Ao, you're so ruthless." Qin Yueshuang said this and immediately threw Du Xian out. Her figure flickered, heading toward Tang residence. Chapter 1990. Suddenly, Tang Ao thought of a person. The entire Qin residence had been destroyed by him, but even now, there was still a fish that escaped the net. Moreover, this fish that escaped the net was extremely powerful. At the end of the Underworld Emperor's secret realm, Qin Yueshuang had a life and death realm's 6th stage cultivation. After so many years, Qin Yueshuang's cultivation must have improved. Thinking of Qin Yueshuang, Tang Ao pushed his wind thunder dark cloud to the extreme. Tang Ao had already experienced the Qin family's father and daughter's viciousness. Therefore, if she saw the Qin residence destroyed, Qin Yueshuang definitely wouldn't let the Tang residence's people go. Tang Ao silently cursed himself for being careless. He only considered Feng Yao's danger and neglected the Qin family's Qin Yueshuang. Very quickly, Limestone City once again appeared in front of Tang Ao. Tang Ao's soul remembrance instantly swept into Limestone City. Soon after, Tang Ao's expression became abnormally cold. At this moment, the entire Tang residence had been razed to the ground. Many of the Tang residence's disciples had died. When his soul remembrance swept into a corner, Tang Ao's body suddenly shook. This was because he saw Uncle Fu, but at this moment Uncle Fu was no longer breathing. His figure flashed and Tang Ao escaped into Limestone City. When Tang Ao entered Bluestone City, everyone in Bluestone City could feel a monstrous murderous intent permeating the air. After sensing this killing intent, even the livestock were so scared that they didn't dare to move. When Tang Ao arrived at the Tang residence ruins, he saw Tang Yun and the others. When Tang Yun saw Tang Ao, she immediately cried and threw herself into Tang Ao's embrace. Brother, it was Qin Yueshuang, that crazy woman. The Tang family disciples that didn't have time to migrate and Uncle Fu were all killed by her. After Tang Yun spoke, she sobbed again. Tang Ao took a deep breath and calmed himself down a little. Then he asked, "What do you mean by migrating?" Just now, Tang Ao was extremely angry, and did not notice that these Tang family disciples were very pale, and the Tang family disciples that Tang Ao saw when he came back before were not here at all. In the east of the Heavenly Dream Dynasty, there is a profound heaven mountain. The natural power in the profound heaven mountain is rich, and there are all kinds of beasts living around it. Last night, I took most of the Tang family disciples and moved to the profound heaven mountain. When I came back this afternoon, this happened. That Qin Yueshuang has already gone to the Seven Kills sect to look for you. Her cultivation seems to be much stronger than Feng Yao. Big brother Tang Ao, what should we do now? Tang Yun had heard that Qin Yueshuang of the Qin clan was talented in cultivation, but Tang Yun didn't expect it. Qin Yueshuang's cultivation had actually reached such a level. If even Tang Ao was not a match for Qin Yueshuang, then the Tang family would probably be completely finished. Humph. Alright, since she went to the Seven Kills sect to look for me, I will go there and wait for her. It's time to settle the score between me and her. In his previous life, Tang Ao was invincible and lonely. In this life, Tang Ao wanted to be an ordinary person, but Qin Yueshuang and the others wanted to harm him, forcing Tang Ao to recultivate. Later, whether it was the Seven Kills sect disciple recruitment, cultivating in the Seven Kills sect, or even in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm, Qin Yueshuang did not stop making things difficult for Tang Ao. Chapter 1991. After Tang Ao gave his instructions, he left Limestone City and headed towards Seven Kills sect. Originally, Tang Ao had intended to return to Seven Kills sect. Tang Ao wanted to see if his seniors and juniors from Seven Kills sect had returned after the Underworld Emperor Mystic Realm ended, and if Dong Xianyi had returned. If not for Dong Xianyi, Tang Ao wouldn't even have had the chance to use the Space Jade Talisman. The distance between the Green Stone City and the Seven Kills sect wasn't close. Between the Green Stone City and the Seven Kills sect was a valley called the Buried Passion Valley. After Tang Ao arrived at the Buried Love Valley on the Wind Thunder Dark Cloud, Tang Ao stopped. On a huge rock in the Buried Love Valley, there was an absolute beauty sitting cross-legged. Even though it was a dead land, Tang Ao had to admit that Qin Yueshuang was very beautiful. Tang Ao, long time no see. Perhaps it was because she knew that she didn't have long to live, or perhaps it was because she had vented most of her emotions after killing the Tang family. Qin Yueshuang wasn't angry when she saw Tang Ao. Instead, she was calm. This place you found is not bad. Qin Yueshuang wasn't angry, but Tang Ao couldn't help but be angry. In this lifetime, Uncle Fu was considered one of Tang Ao's closest relatives. Uncle Fu had watched Tang Ao grow up, and had taken great care of Tang Ao. Now that Qin Yueshuang had killed Uncle Fu, she would only be left with death. Qin Yueshuang was stunned at first, but she chuckled softly. At this moment, Qin Yueshuang's face was a little pale. When she chuckled, there was a desolate beauty to her. Against a woman like this, there were probably not many men who could kill her. But Tang Ao couldn't see her beauty. In Tang Ao's eyes, there were only the tragic deaths of the Tang family disciples, and the hunched back of Uncle Fu. You're really good at hiding. After the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm ended, many powers searched the entire continent for you. But after so many years, if you hadn't shown yourself, I'm afraid no one would have been able to find you. I'm really curious where you've been hiding all these years. Qin Yueshuang didn't make a move. Instead, she chatted with Tang Ao like an old friend whom she hadn't seen for many years. Sorry to trouble you. Tang Ao also gradually calmed down. In any case, between him and Qin Yueshuang, only one person could leave here alive today. Qin Yueshuang was not in a hurry to make a move, so Tang Ao was naturally not in a hurry either. As for letting Qin Yueshuang go, Tang Ao had no intention of doing so. Moreover, Tang Ao believed that Qin Yueshuang would never let him go. Aren't you going to tell me where you've been all these years? Qin Yueshuang lazily stretched, revealing her enchanting curves. No need. Too many things had happened over the years. Tang Ao really didn't have any intention of telling her. If I hadn't separated you and Yueru back then, and if I hadn't schemed to steal the Tang clan's destiny stone, then you and Yueru would be together. Now, the Tang clan and the Qin clan are on good terms. Let's not talk about a mere heavenly dream dynasty. Even in the entire black-yellow continent, there's still a place for both of our clans. Qin Yueshuang said calmly. In her calmness, there was a tinge of regret. If only she and Qin Wudao hadn't been so narrow-minded back then, and hadn't used such a method to steal the Tang clan's destiny stone. Now, the Tang clan and the Qin clan would be one family. She wouldn't have chosen to marry Xiahou Linyuan just to deal with Tang Ao. This way, with her and Tang Ao's talent in martial arts, their cultivation would definitely reach a higher level. With the support of the two, the Tang clan and the Qin clan would probably become top powers like the clan of the ancients. Chapter 1992. Let me ask you seriously. If you tell me honestly, although I'll still kill you, I'll let you die with dignity. At present, there was no room for reconciliation between Tang Ao and Qin Yueshuang. However, Tang Ao still had one more thing to ask Qin Yueshuang. He wanted to know where Yueru was. Qin Yueshuang stared blankly for a moment, then said in an unconcerned tone, "Tell me, what do you want to know? Maybe I'll tell you in a moment of happiness." "Where did you take Yueru?" Sucking in a deep breath, Tang Ao asked calmly. As for how big the black-yellow continent was, Tang Ao had no idea. Tang Ao only knew that in his previous life, with his peak astral reaching 9th level cultivation base, he had only been to 1/10 of the black-yellow continent after traveling for half his life. Therefore, without any clues, it was almost impossible to find a person in the black-yellow continent. Just like when the Underworld Emperor's secret realm ended, the 8 great sects and 6 great families of desolation were all looking for Tang Ao. However, after searching for so many years, they still couldn't find Tang Ao's whereabouts. I didn't expect you to still be thinking about Yueru. How rare. But, since you're thinking about Yueru, why did you kill the Qin family? Even if our Qin family let you down, for Yueru's sake, you wouldn't go so far as to completely annihilate our family. As she said this, a trace of sadness flickered in Qin Yueshuang's eyes. Thinking of Qin Mansha, who cultivated evil arts, Tang Chu, Qin Taizhou, and the others, Qin Mansha, Tang Chu, and the others, Tang Ao said calmly, the Qin family didn't die unjustly. For what they did, even if they died 10 times over, it wouldn't be a pity. But it's a pity that my Tang family's disciples killed many innocent people in your rage. Now you can tell me where Yueru is. You don't need to think about it. You'll never know where she is. Qin Yueshuang laughed like crazy, and then the spiritual energy in her body moved. Behind Qin Yueshuang, pieces of star life spirit appeared instantly. Suddenly, this space seemed to be enveloped by a sky full of stars. Feeling Qin Yueshuang's aura, Tang Ao was also secretly surprised. I did not expect you to reach the half-step astral reaching realm. Right now, the qi on Qin Yueshuang's body was very powerful. It was already very close to the astral reaching realm. In other words, with Qin Yueshuang's comprehensive ability, as long as she had another 3 to 5 years, Qin Yueshuang would definitely be able to reach the astral reaching realm. You're only at the 7th layer of life and death realm. Your hidden jade body doesn't seem like much. Many elders in the Seven Kills sect already knew that Tang Ao possessed the hidden jade body. Thanks to House Xiaoho's influence, Qin Yueshuang was able to get the information easily. It's enough to deal with you. A golden light flickered on Tang Ao's body, and golden runes appeared one after another, forming a dazzling golden armor on Tang Ao's body. Then, a cyan light slowly appeared behind Tang Ao's body. The cyan light condensed into 7 green lotus swords. The green lotus swords flickered with a cold light, their killing intent threatening. Qin Yueshuang waved her hand, and countless stars immediately burst forth with countless rays of light, pouring down on Tang Ao. These rays of light seemed gentle, but they contained a frightening power. They were like falling comets, frightening to the extreme. All of a sudden, the entire buried Passion Valley turned dark. After these starlight rays bombarded the ground, waves of frightening explosions rang out in the buried Passion Valley. Chapter 1993. In the buried Love Valley, Tang Ao waved his hand and a sharp sword screen swept out. When the sword screen collided with Qin Yueshuang's starlight, a terrifying power immediately spread out. The entire buried Love Valley was in a mess. Sand and stones flew everywhere, and trees fell. In the area where Tang Ao and Qin Yueshuang were fighting, there was not a single piece of stone that was intact. After recovering his cultivation, this was the first time that Tang Ao had fought with his full strength. Although Feng Yao was not bad previously, she was too timid and relied on the heaven-devouring demonic technique. Therefore, she did not fight with Tang Ao with her full strength. Now, Qin Yueshuang and Luo Yunyang had the mentality that they had to kill each other. Therefore, he did not hold back when he attacked. A murderous aura swept through the entire buried Love Valley. Then, the chaotic aura in the air instantly became solemn. Tang Ao brandished his sword. It was the first sword move of the 7-killing divine path, Windcloud Strike. Under Tang Ao's sword, several rays of starlight were shattered by Tang Ao. However, even more starlight bombarded Tang Ao. It seemed like there was no end to it. Qin Yueshuang was slightly surprised. Although her Destiny Crepe Myrtle Dao constitution had been forcefully extracted, and she could only live for less than a year, her strength had improved so much. She had already reached such a level. Qin Yueshuang could not imagine how terrifying Xiahou Linyuan would be after he came out of seclusion after obtaining her Destiny Crepe Myrtle Dao constitution. After using the Windcloud Strike, Tang Ao did not stop. Lightning flashed on the green lotus sword and countless thunderbolts began to gather. A terrifying aura also spread out from the green lotus sword. At this moment, the aura on the green lotus sword made Qin Yueshuang's heart palpitate. It seems that although Tang Ao has been hiding for all these years, he has never slacked off in his martial Dao cultivation. Otherwise, Tang Ao would not be able to grasp such a terrifying martial skill. After the lightning was condensed to an extreme, Tang Ao slashed out with his sword. Then, a huge lightning arc sword energy slashed towards Qin Yueshuang. Qin Yueshuang waved her jade-like hand and streams of starlight condensed. Then, a shield containing boundless starlight appeared in front of Qin Yueshuang. After Tang Ao's invincible thunder sword slashed on the astral shield, it only left a crack on the astral shield, and then it slowly disappeared. The cultivation method Qin Yueshuang used was also familiar to Tang Ao. It was the star scripture that he had seen in his previous life. Although Qin Yueshuang's cultivation was not as good as those old guys in his previous life, Qin Yueshuang's control of the star scripture had surpassed them. However, Tang Ao did not intend to defeat Qin Yueshuang with just a thunder sword. Therefore, after the thunder sword, Tang Ao's sword momentum did not stop. His figure flashed and he appeared in front of Qin Yueshuang. Qin Yueshuang raised her hand and a starlight beam blasted towards Tang Ao's chest. However, Tang Ao casually slashed out with his sword and resolved Qin Yueshuang's attack. After breaking Qin Yueshuang's move, Tang Ao's sword momentum did not stop and he slashed out with his green lotus sword. At this time, a terrifying sword momentum was also born in the surroundings. This terrifying sword momentum seemed to have existed since it was born. It was not condensed by Tang Ao's sword, but it was awakened by Tang Ao's green lotus sword. A soft cry could be heard and Qin Yueshuang saw a magnificent phoenix in front of her. This phoenix was completely composed of sword energy with murderous intent. In this beautiful scene, it mercilessly harvested lives. Chapter 1994. Tang Ao's Nine Heavens Phoenix dance slashed at the star palm, but it only left a white mark on the palm. After the powerful sword Qi storm of the Ninth Heaven Phoenix dance passed, the star hand changed its direction and slapped towards Tang Ao. Purple lightning appeared under Tang Ao's feet in an instant, and then a purple light flew towards the star hand. In an instant, the star hand also slapped the mountain where Tang Ao was standing. The whole mountain was immediately smashed by the star hand, and even a huge star hand print appeared on the ground. Sensing the movement here just now, many warriors were curious and wanted to come over to take a look. But now, no one had the guts to come over. In a battle of this level, as long as the aftermath of the battle leaked out a little, it was not something they could bear. In the face of Qin Yueshuang's terrifying attack, Tang Ao shouted in his heart. With the continuous improvement of his cultivation, Tang Ao fought to his heart's content. Although it seemed that Qin Yueshuang had the upper hand now, Tang Ao was not afraid at all. Moving his body, the green lotus sword in Tang Ao's hand danced, leaving a series of afterimages. At the same time, sharp sword Qi swept towards Qin Yueshuang. Qin Yueshuang waved her hand, and the star hand smashed all the sword Qi, then bombarded Tang Ao. This time, Tang Ao did not retreat. He put away the green lotus sword soul in an instant, and then took out the demon beheading axe. Before, Tang Ao's cultivation was too low, so he could not exert the power of the demon beheading axe. Now that Tang Ao's cultivation had increased to the 7th level of the life and death realm, the demon beheading axe had become more and more terrifying. Tang Ao swung the axe, and it collided with the star hand summoned by Qin Yueshuang. A terrifying force came, and Qin Yueshuang and Tang Ao were both sent flying. That's Qin Yueshuang of House Xiao. But who was this young man in front of her? He's able to hold his own against Qin Yueshuang of House Xiao. On a mountain not too far away from the love-burying valley, two young men watched the battle from afar with their hearts palpitating. One of them was the top genius of the Murong family, Murong Qing, and the other was the genius of the Luo family, Luo He. Murong Qing didn't know who Tang Ao was, but Luo He recognized Tang Ao at first glance. Luo He was Luo Guxiao's adopted son, and he had always been hostile towards Tang Ao. Back at the end of the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm, when everyone ganged up on Tang Ao, Luo He had also participated. It was just that Luo He had never imagined that this Tang Ao who had escaped with grievous injuries back then would not only survive, but had also become so terrifying. This person is 7 Kill Sex Tang Ao. Luo He didn't hide anything from Murong Qing. Although Murong Qing didn't participate in the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm, he looked righteous on the surface, but in reality, he was just like Luo He. Sure enough, when Murong Qing heard that this person was Tang Ao, his eyes brightened. Murong Qing immediately asked, "Are you sure? Is this person really Tang Ao?" It was rumored that Tang Ao had obtained the Netherworld Emperor's inheritance in the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm. Therefore, when the secret realm ended, he was heavily injured by everyone. According to the situation at that time, even if Tang Ao had escaped, he would have died without a doubt. However, no one had expected that not only was Tang Ao not dead, but he had also become so terrifying. Chapter 1995. However, La Caille had always treated him as an elder brother. No matter how outstanding he was never able to attract La Caille's attention. However, Tang Ao had somehow managed to win La Caille's heart. This made Luo He very unhappy. Hence, after meeting Tang Ao this time, Luo He's desire to kill Tang Ao intensified. Luo He felt that this might be the time when the gap between her and Tang Ao was the smallest. If she couldn't succeed this time, it would be even more impossible for her to kill Tang Ao in the future. As for the battle between Tang Ao and La Caille, it was too big of a commotion. At this moment, many powerhouses were attracted over. With so many people around, Tang Ao naturally saw them. However, Tang Ao didn't care at all. Although Tang Ao wasn't strong enough to sweep the entire black-yellow continent, if Tang Ao wanted to leave, no one could stop him. The reason why he hadn't left yet was because he wanted to end things with Qin Yueshuang. Of course, if there was a blind guy who wanted to court death, Tang Ao wouldn't mind sending him on his way. After fighting for such a long time, Tang Ao's spiritual power had already been depleted by 40%. This was because the Nine Dragons Emperor's jade body was absorbing spiritual power at an extremely fast speed and constantly replenishing Tang Ao's spiritual power. Unlike Tang Ao, in order to maintain the 10 stellar life soul and control the Star Colossus to fight with Tang Ao, Qin Yueshuang's spiritual power had already been depleted by 70%. Sensing the rich spiritual power in Tang Ao's body, Qin Yueshuang no longer planned to continue dragging it out with Tang Ao. She had the upper hand now, but if she continued to drag it out, the situation would soon be reversed. Immediately, a star colossus slowly condensed above Qin Yueshuang's head. The star colossus was holding a star battle spear in its hand, and Qin Yueshuang's spiritual power was continuously gathering into the star battle spear. The dazzling starlight in the surroundings also shone on the star battle spear in an instant. Is this the last fight? Tang Ao's eyes turned cold. Then, he put away his demon-slaying act. Tang Ao opened his hand, and the primordial sacred heaven bow, which he hadn't used for a long time, appeared in his hand again. All of a sudden, Tang Ao's aura changed. Then, Tang Ao exerted strength in his arms and countless spiritual power poured into the primordial sacred sky bow. Then, Tang Ao slowly pulled the primordial sacred sky bow. When the primordial sacred sky bow was drawn, the surroundings were filled with a chilling murderous aura that made one's heart palpitate. Qin Yueshuang, who was targeted by the primordial sacred sky bow, was even more shocked. At this moment, Qin Yueshuang could clearly feel the threat of death. The aura of the star battle spear was still rising, and the aura of the dark heavenly arrow was also getting sharper. Sensing the terrifying aura of the two, some knowledgeable martial artists had already retreated secretly. At this moment, Tang Ao and Qin Yueshuang were obviously fighting with their lives. If they were to be accidentally injured because they were too close, they could only blame themselves for being unlucky. As more and more martial artists arrived, some of the weaker ones also followed fearlessly. Under the pressure of the dark heavenly arrow and the star battle spear, these people found it difficult to even breathe, let alone escape. Finally, after the dark heavenly arrow and the star battle spear converged to an extreme, Qin Yueshuang waved her hand, and the star battle spear pierced through the void and rushed towards Tang Ao. Meanwhile, Tang Ao's dark heavenly arrow also turned into an extremely powerful golden light and rushed towards Qin Yueshuang. Chapter 1996. The demonic beasts in the surrounding mountains did not understand what had happened in Buried Love Valley and fled for their lives. The aftermath of the explosion lasted for a long time before it slowly dissipated. Once everything had calmed down, a crisp cracking sound could be heard. Following that, the battle sage bone life spirit on Tang Ao's body instantly shattered, turning into countless golden specks of light that returned to Tang Ao's sea of soul. On the other side, Qin Yueshuang also spat out a mouthful of blood. Who won? The spiritual energy within Luo He's body had also been affected by the explosion. Fortunately, Luo He's cultivation was very strong, so it did not affect her too much. However, the spiritual energy at the center of the battle between Tang Ao and Qin Yueshuang was too violent. Hence, Luo He was not sure who had won between Tang Ao and Qin Yueshuang. After Luo He asked, Murong Qing shook his head. This genius of the Murong family had always thought highly of himself. However, now that he was facing Qin Yueshuang and Tang Ao, Murong Qing actually felt a sense of defeat. This was because Murong Qing realized that he could not defeat either one of them. Just then, Qin Yueshuang spat out another mouthful of blood. Following that, a relaxed expression appeared on Qin Yueshuang's face. It's over. It's over. Tang Ao's expression was very calm. Can you tell me now, where is Yueru? Ah, she's. Before Qin Yueshuang could finish her sentence, a sad but beautiful smile appeared on her face once again. Then, the aura around her body instantly withered. A moment later, rays of starfire began to burn on Qin Yueshuang's body. Very quickly, Qin Yueshuang was burned into nothingness by her own starfire. In the end, Qin Yueshuang did not say where Qin Yueru was. However, from the last trace of gentleness in Qin Yueshuang's eyes, Tang Ao knew that Qin Yueru was still alive. At the very least, Qin Yueru should still be alive. It was just that no one knew where Qin Yueshuang had hidden her. Qin Yueshuang was right. At this point, the feud between the Tang and Qin families had finally come to an end. However, now that Qin Yueshuang was the young madam of the Xiahou family, and Tang Ao had killed Qin Yueshuang, he naturally stood on the opposite side of the Xiahou family. During the last attack, Tang Ao was very puzzled. Even at that moment, Qin Yueshuang did not use her life soul. Tang Ao could not understand. He did not understand why Qin Yueshuang would do that. That was because Tang Ao knew that if the Star Colossus were to throw the Star Battle Spear with the support of the Destiny Purple Myrtle Life Soul, the Star Battle Spear thrown by the Star Colossus would definitely be more powerful. In that case, no matter how powerful his mysterious heaven arrow was, he would only end up with Qin Yueshuang suffering from severe injuries. But now, he actually killed Qin Yueshuang with a single arrow. At this moment, Tang Ao's expression suddenly turned cold. He saw a cold gleam flying towards him from behind. The cold gleam was a spear in the hands of a rather handsome young man. Tang Ao knew this person. It was Luo He from the Luo family of the primordial era. If Luo He had not used a treasure to seal the space at the end of the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm, Tang Ao would not have been forced to such an extent. At this moment, a terrifying killing intent rose in Tang Ao's heart when he saw Luo He. Now that Luo He had attacked him, it was obvious that she wanted to reap the benefits after seeing that he and Qin Yueshuang were both injured. However, Tang Ao could only say that Luo He had miscalculated this time. Tang Ao dodged Luo He's attack. At the same time, he instantly drew the primordial sacred sky bow, and a terrifying aura immediately gathered on the life soul. Chapter 1997. Right now, Luo He was the same as Tang Ao, only at life and death realm level 7. With Luo He's cultivation base, even if Tang Ao didn't use his primordial sacred heaven bow, he would still die without a doubt. Under Tang Ao's primordial sacred heaven bow, Luo He's eyes were filled with despair. Tang Ao's arrow, he couldn't dodge it, he couldn't block it. He only had one choice, and that was death. Luo He regretted his actions. He shouldn't have acted so hastily. With so many people here, Luo He wasn't the only one who had designs on Tang Ao. He would wait for others to test out Tang Ao first before making his move. Unfortunately, it was too late for regret. When the mysterious heaven arrow pierced through Luo He's forehead, Luo He realized how close he was to death. Luo He's thoughts were not wrong. There were many people who had designs on Tang Ao. However, after seeing Tang Ao kill Qin Yueshuang and kill Luo He with a single arrow, no one dared to make a move against Tang Ao. There were countless treasures in this world, but one only had one life. After putting away the primordial sacred heaven bow, Tang Ao took out 2 pills and sat down. Tang Ao didn't care about the people around him at all. Although Tang Ao had expended a lot of energy, these people were nothing in Tang Ao's eyes. If they knew what was good for them, they would leave on their own. But if they didn't know what was good for them like Luo He, Tang Ao wouldn't mind sending them on their way. Although these people coveted Tang Ao's items, they didn't make a move immediately. Luo He's fate was still there. Although Tang Ao was only at life and death realm level 7, his strength wasn't much weaker than 7 kills Sect's Supreme Elder Fengya. At this time, what they needed to do was not to find trouble with Tang Ao, but to quickly report back to their families. Very soon, what happened here spread to all the top sects in the Black-Yellow continent. Everyone's attitude was different. Ever since the Underworld Emperor Mystic Domain had ended, the Underworld Emperor Mystic Domain had completely disappeared. This could only mean that among the martial artists who participated in the Underworld Emperor Mystic Domain trial, someone had obtained the Underworld Emperor's inheritance. Rumor had it that the cultivator who had obtained the Netherworld Emperor's inheritance was Tang Ao. If it was just an ordinary treasure, the various powers naturally wouldn't say anything. However, Netherworld Thearka's inheritance was no small matter. There were simply too many people who were interested in it. Tang Ao only needed to regulate his breathing for a couple of hours before he recovered all the spirit energy that he had expended. After that, Tang Ao headed to 7 Kills Sect. Standing outside the 7 Kills Sect, Tang Ao was filled with emotions. After so many years, he finally returned to the 7 Kills Sect today. The moment he approached the 7 Kills Sect, Tang Ao sensed a trace of declining aura. This kind of declining aura was extremely familiar to Tang Ao. Generally speaking, when astral-reaching experts reached the end of their lifespans, this kind of worldly phenomenon would appear. Tang Ao was immediately alarmed. In the entire 7 Kills Sect, there was only one astral-reaching expert, and that was Supreme Elder Fengya. Tang Ao didn't expect to encounter this kind of thing on his return. Immediately, Tang Ao didn't dare to waste any more time and directly flew toward the 7 Kills Sect's mountain gate. When Tang Ao approached the gate of the 7 Kills Sect, the 2 disciples guarding the gate immediately soared into the sky. They cupped their fists towards Tang Ao and said, "Senior, this is the gate of the 7 Kills Sect. Those who aren't disciples of the 7 Kills Sect and don't have an invitation are not allowed to enter." Chapter 1998. Tang Ao did not say much to them and took out the 7 Kills Sect's inner disciple identity token. After seeing Tang Ao's identity token, the 2 of them were shocked. Since when did the 7 Kills Sect have such a powerful senior brother? Junior brother greets senior brother. Seeing that Tang Ao was also a disciple of the 7 Kills Sect, the 2's attitude became gentler, and they did not stop Tang Ao. After entering the 7 Kills Sect, Tang Ao scanned the place with his soul remembrance and rushed toward the sect's palace. Right then, inside the palace, all the powerful warriors of the 7 Kills Sect had gathered. Right above them, Fengya was already very old. Even after reaching the astral reaching realm, a warrior's lifespan was not endless. And now, Fengya's lifespan had also reached its limit. As Tang Ao approached, Fengya opened his murky eyes and said coldly, "Who is it?" Now that he had heard that his lifespan was coming to an end, there were a lot of small fries who were eyeing the 7 Kills Sect. Feeling the unfamiliar yet powerful aura from Tang Ao, Fengya naturally thought of Tang Ao as one of those small fries. Tang Ao cupped his fists and said, "7 Kills Sect's inner disciple, Tang Ao, greets the Great Elder." As Tang Ao spoke, the entire palace was shocked. Everyone looked over and saw Tang Ao walking toward the palace. The number 1 of the Dragon and Phoenix rank, Tang Ao, was one of the 2 most outstanding geniuses of the 7-kill sect in the past 1,000 years. If it were not for the fact that these 2 were not here, Feng Ye would not be so worried about the 7-kill sect having no successor. However, in these years, whether it was Tang Ao or the other genius disciple, Dong Xianyi, there was no news of them. Therefore, Feng Ye could not help but worry. What Feng Ye did not expect was that when his lifespan was almost up, Tang Ao had finally returned. Senior brother Tang Ao. After Tang Ao walked in, a couple of young men and women also bowed to greet Tang Ao. These people were all wearing elder robes. Clearly, they were the elders of this generation of the 7-kill sect. After being dazed for a moment, Tang Ao also recognized these people. The 3 were the easiest to recognize. The 3 were no longer as immature as before. Instead, they had a decisive killing intent. Clearly, they had experienced many things in these years. The 3's cultivation had also increased a lot, and they were already at life and death realm 3rd level. On the other side, Jing Wushang had a long sword in a black scabbard. After so many years, Jing Wushang's right arm had also become empty. It seemed like the 7-kill sect had encountered many things. The blue-robed youth behind Jing Wushang was Jiang Zhulu. Back when Tang Ao left the 7-kills martial school, Jiang Zhulu was the weakest among the top 10 experts of the Dragon and Phoenix ranking. But now, he was already at life and death realm 6th layer. The 2, and the only one, Ao had the 7-sect Tang Ao not to not. She was Kasahara Shui, whose beauty did not lose to La Kale. Out of the 5 peak disciples who had participated in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm, only Kasahara Shui had returned. You're finally back. Feng Ye's aura was extremely weak. Apart from his lifespan being exhausted, he had been working too hard these years. Ancestor Feng Ye, why don't I see the other elders? Tang Ao did not know what had happened to 7-kill sect. However, what made Tang Ao feel strange was that he did not see any of the 7 great elders of 7-kill sect. Nan Shang and the others died in battle when the other forces besieged the 7-kills sect. If the other forces hadn't joined forces to besiege the 7-kills sect, the 7-kills sect wouldn't have fallen into such a state. Feng Ye's tone changed and he said proudly, in the entire black-yellow continent, which sect could survive under the combined attacks of the 4 great clans and the 4 great sects? Only my 7-kill sect. Tang Ao was startled. Nan Shang was the name of the original great elder of 7-kill sect. Tang Ao did not expect so many things to happen in the black-yellow continent after he fled to the ice plain. Chapter 1999. In the 7-kills sect's technique teaching hall, Tang Ao replied in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, Supreme Elder, I am currently at the 7th stage of the life and death realm. 3 days ago, I fought with Yin Sect's Feng Yao. Half a day ago, I fought with Heavenly Star Sacred Sect's Qin Yueshuang. Qin Yueshuang was killed by me, Tang Ao said honestly when he sensed the oppressive aura in the hall. There were 2 reasons why the 7-kills sect was the top sect in the black-yellow continent. Firstly, it was because of the love between the sect members. Secondly, it was because of the 7-kills sect's backbone. The backbone of the 7-kills sect naturally referred to Supreme Elder Feng Ye, sect leader Luo Gushao, and the 7 elders of the 7-kills sect. However, 10 years ago, the 4 major sects and the 3 major families of the ancient desolation besieged the 7-kills sect. Although the 7-kills sect survived the bloody battle, the price they paid was extremely heavy. Sect leader Luo Gushao went missing and the 7 elders of the inner sect all died in battle. Even Supreme Elder Feng Ye had suffered serious injuries in the battle. Because of this, Supreme Elder Feng Ye's lifespan was depleted in just a few years and his time was up. Although Tang Ao was already a Grade 1 alchemy master, Tang Ao was really powerless against Supreme Elder Feng Ye's situation. Supreme Elder Feng Ye's injuries were nothing to Tang Ao. In fact, Tang Ao could even stop Feng Ye's life force. However, Feng Ye's lifespan was like a candle flickering in the wind. Tang Ao could do nothing about it. If Tang Ao's alchemy skills were higher, or if he had a treasure like the Kunlun flower, Tang Ao could think of a way. However, although Tang Ao had many treasures on him, he really did not have any treasures with similar effects on Tang Ao. Listen carefully. My time is up and I don't have much time left. However, the Seven Kills sect is a sect with thousands of years of heritage. We definitely cannot let the Seven Kills sect decline in your hand. There is an island in the middle of the lake where I cultivate. There is an array disk in the center of the island. This array disk is an extremely powerful spatial teleportation array. Cough cough cough, Feng Ye violently coughed a few times before continuing. This transmission array disk was left behind by the founder of my Seven Kills sect. It connects to the Langya world of Zhen Wujie. Any disciple of our Seven Kill martial school, after reaching the astral reaching realm, can use the Seven Kill divine art to try to open this formation board. If you can open the array disk, you can head to the Langya realm to cultivate. After hearing these words, Tang Ao was inwardly delighted. He had the space-breaking spell. After cultivating to the astral reaching realm, he could naturally go to the true martial realm to continue cultivating. However, the others of the Seven Kill sect didn't have the spell. Therefore, once they reached the astral reaching realm, they would most likely face the same situation as Tang Ao's previous life. After reaching the peak of astral reaching realm level 9, one would not be able to cross the boundary of the realm, and would be stuck at the peak of astral reaching realm level 9. Now that they had such a formation plate, as long as the disciples of the Seven Kills sect could cultivate to the astral reaching realm, their chances of leaving the black-yellow continent would undoubtedly increase by a lot. However, Feng Ye's next words made Tang Ao less optimistic. Chapter 2000. Originally, if Tang Ao didn't return, Feng Ye was prepared to pass the position of sect leader to Jing Wushang. Jing Wushang was a calm and decisive person. He would definitely be a strict Iron Blood sect leader. However, while these were Jing Wushang's strengths, they were also his weaknesses. As the sect leader of the Seven Kills sect, he indeed needed to be decisive, but at the same time, he couldn't be too unreasonable. Compared to Jing Wushang, Tang Ao was more suitable to be the sect leader. The fact that Tang Ao was able to fight with Feng Yao and defeat him showed how terrifying Tang Ao's current strength was. At the same time, compared to Jing Wushang, Tang Ao cultivated the Seven Kills holy path that the Seven Kills sect leader had to cultivate. The Seven Kills holy path was the ultimate technique of the Seven Kills sect. If even the Seven Kills sect leader didn't know the Seven Kills holy path, wouldn't it be a joke? Tang Ao received the order. Feng Ye's expression turned serious as he looked at Tang Ao. Disciple is here. Although Tang Ao wasn't willing to be the Seven Kills sect leader, someone had to step up at this time. Tang Ao wasn't too interested in the position of Seven Kills sect leader. However, when the Seven Kills sect was in danger, Tang Ao wouldn't hesitate to step up. Moreover, as Tang Ao cultivated the Seven Kills holy path, Tang Ao's understanding of the Seven Kills holy path also deepened. Now, Tang Ao discovered that the Seven Kills holy path didn't seem that difficult to cultivate. Tang Ao, from today onwards, you are the 21st sect leader of the Seven Kills sect. This Seven Kill order contains all the information and secrets of the Seven Kills sect. Keep it well. After handing the Seven Kill order to Tang Ao, Feng Ye slowly closed his eyes. Following that, the entire hall emitted a sorrowful silence. Dark clouds gathered above the Seven Kills sect. Around the Seven Kills sect, thousands of beasts howled and the wind howled. This was a phenomenon caused by the death of an expert. The Seven Kills sect's supreme elder, Feng Ye, had fallen. The eyes of everyone in the hall were filled with sorrow, but no one cried. The 7 Kills sect had shed a lot of blood to this day. However, the disciples of the 7 Kills sect would never shed a single tear. Under everyone's gazes, Feng Ye's body gradually became transparent, and in the end, he completely vanished. This supreme elder who had worked hard for the 7 Kills sect for his entire life had now completely left. Senior brother Feng Shiwu, gather all the disciples of the sect at the Tao Development Reserve. Even though Tang Ao was unwilling to take on the role of the sect master of 7 Kills sect, since Tang Ao had become the sect master of 7 Kills sect, he would naturally have to shoulder the responsibilities of a sect master. Right now, the 7 Kills sect was no longer as lively as it had been in the past. Therefore, Tang Ao had to make some changes. The 7 Kills sect's Tao development ground was extremely spacious, and after a few tens of thousands of outer court disciples and a few thousands of inner court disciples were gathered here, the Tao development ground wasn't crowded at all. Right now, Feng Shiwu was the second elder of the 7 Kills sect. He personally gathered the disciples. Therefore, it did not take long for all the disciples of the 7 Kills sect to gather. All of them were slightly puzzled as they gazed at Tang Ao, who stood before the elders. The elders rarely made an appearance in the sect, but most of the disciples had seen these elders. Conversely, very few people had seen the young man that stood before the elders at this moment. The black-clothed young man seemed to be similar to them in age, so all of them were guessing in their hearts. They wondered exactly who he was and why he was standing before the elders. Chapter 2001. Silence, everyone. I'm the 21st sect master of the 7 Kills sect, Tang Ao. Our 7 Kills sect has been in a state of decline for too long, and I've made some arrangements this time. Now all the disciples of the 7 Kills sect, no matter if they're inner court disciples or outer court disciples, they'll be divided into outer court disciples. As soon as Tang Ao spoke these words, everyone instantly became agitated. However, under the formidable spirit pressure of Tang Ao, even though they were furious in their hearts, they weren't even able to utter a single word. Tang Ao paid no attention to the expressions of these disciples and continued. For the next day, disciples that aren't willing to continue staying in the 7 Kills sect can go through the procedures to leave. But disciples that leave will never be able to step foot into the 7 Kills sect again. Alright, that's all I'll say today. At this time tomorrow, disciples that are still willing to stay and cultivate in the 7 Kills sect can continue coming to the Tao Development Reserve. I have something to say. As soon as he finished speaking, Tang Ao's figure flashed and vanished before the eyes of everyone. Tang Ao was extremely disappointed by these disciples of the 7 Kills sect. Perhaps it was because the 4 great sects and the 3 great clans of the primordial era had joined forces to besiege the 7 Kills sect over 10 years ago, but it had caused the 7 Kills sect to suffer a heavy loss now, and the disciples of the sect were lacking in manpower. Presently, the spirit energy within the bodies of these so-called inner court disciples was extremely weak. Tang Ao even wondered if these disciples had fought demon beasts or experienced life and death battles since they started cultivating until now. On the path of cultivation, even though cultivation was important, ceaselessly comprehending in battle during the process of cultivation and stimulating one's potential between life and death would allow one to go further and obtain higher accomplishments. If they were to blindly hide in the ivory tower that was the 7 Kills sect and cultivate, then the 7 Kills sect would only be lacking in manpower now, and it might vanish in a few tens of years. It was the first time that Tang Ao had come to the 7 Kills sect's master hall. Tang Ao didn't intentionally control the departure of those disciples. Presently, the 7 Kills sect was at the bottom amongst the 8 great sects of the Skyearth continent. At this time, it was normal for many disciples with good natural talent to be unwilling to stay in the 7 Kills sect. Especially now that Tang Ao had divided all the inner and outer sect disciples into outer sect disciples, many people were even more unwilling to stay. In the sect master's hall, Tang Ao saw the place where the previous sect masters cultivated, as well as the place where they handled the sect's affairs. There were 2 rows of bookshelves here, and the bookshelves were filled with all sorts of scrolls from the 7 Kills sect. On the table, there was a special jade scroll. Tang Ao scanned it with his soul remembrance. Subsequently, Tang Ao discovered that it was a map of the mountain range surrounding 7 Kills sect. Tang Ao was still very familiar with the terrain near the 7 Kills sect. Now that he browsed through this jade slip, Tang Ao even missed the scene of him accepting the sect's missions and coming to these places to train. But now, the 7 great elders of the 7 Kills sect had died in battle, and even the supreme elder Feng Ye had fallen. All of a sudden, Tang Ao had a feeling that things remained the same, but people had changed. However, Tang Ao didn't feel depressed for too long. Now that he was the sect master of the 7 Kills sect, there was only one thing he had to do, and that was to bring the 7 Kills sect back to its former glory. For the current Tang Ao, this wasn't a difficult task. All he needed was some time. However, Tang Ao felt that these forces wouldn't give him that much time after finding out that he had returned to the 7 Kills sect. Chapter 2002. All the signs pointed to the disappearance of the Underworld Emperor's secret realm, because someone had obtained Underworld Emperor's inheritance. If it were before, they wouldn't have known much about Underworld Emperor's inheritance. But now, they had learned from their own disciples what level Underworld Emperor was at. It turned out that the astral reaching realm was not the end of martial cultivation. Above the astral reaching realm, there were the Yin-Yang realm, chaotic heaven realm, and many other realms. And this legendary Emperor Hades was a powerhouse at the celestial muddy realm. An Underworld Emperor's inheritance was obtained by Tang Ao. These people all wanted Underworld Emperor's inheritance, but they also knew that no matter which sect obtained it, their fate would not be any better than 7 Kills sect. Therefore, they finally decided that after obtaining Underworld Emperor's inheritance, they would all contribute the secrets above the astral reaching realm. A day passed by quickly. During this time, many outer sect disciples with mediocre talents naturally cultivated and rested as usual. However, those disciples who were more talented in martial arts were somewhat restless. Although 7 Kills sect had declined, it was once one of the top sects in the Black-Yellow continent. Therefore, these people had chosen to join 7 Kills sect. Now that the new sect head, Tang Ao, had taken over, all the inner disciples and outer disciples were all classified as outer disciples. Wouldn't this mean that their martial talent would be wasted? Therefore, there were 3 kinds of situations that occurred among these disciples. Some of the arrogant ones did not hesitate to leave the sect. Although Tang Ao had already said that after leaving the 7 Kills sect this time, he would never return to the 7 Kills sect. However, Tang Ao's words clearly had no effect on these people. These people did not stay in 7 Kills sect because they had any feelings for the sect. They only felt that the competition in 7 Kills sect was relatively small, and the cultivation resources of the inner sect disciples were more abundant. Now that their status as inner sect disciples had been revoked, they naturally did not want to stay in 7 Kills sect. The second type of disciple was the type that was wavering. These people's martial arts talent was not bad, but whether they should leave the 7 Kills sect to cultivate in other sects or continue to cultivate in the 7 Kills sect, they were somewhat uncertain. Even though the current 7 Kills sect had fallen into decline, they knew that the 7 Kills sect had indeed treated them well over the years. It was also because of this that these disciples suffered the most at this time. As for the third group of disciples, these disciples had deep friendships with their fellow disciples of the 7 Kills sect, the instructors, and the elders. Therefore, even though they didn't understand why the new sect master would strip them of their inner disciple status, they still chose to stay. At the entrance of the Seven Kills sect, Jing Wushang had a trace of sorrow in his eyes. Although they hadn't seen each other for a long time, Tang Ao understood Jing Wushang quite well. This was a man who wouldn't feel sad at all. But at this moment, Tang Ao could clearly see that when this somewhat arrogant youth left the Seven Kills sect, Jing Wushang still felt very sad in his heart. Because this youth was Jing Wushang's most valued disciple, Yi Guhong. With Jing Wushang's status as the enforcement elder, even if Yi Guhong was stripped of his status as an inner court disciple, the cultivation resources that belonged to Yi Guhong would not be reduced at all. Chapter 2003. At this moment, Jing Wushang suddenly realized that perhaps Tang Ao was doing the right thing. If a person harbored evil intentions, then no matter how good their martial arts talent was, it would be useless. Tang Ao didn't say anything to Jing Wushang. Glancing at Jing Wushang, Tang Ao walked out of the Seven Kills sect's mountain gate. As the leader of a sect, Tang Ao naturally wouldn't make things difficult for a disciple like Yi Guhong. The reason why Tang Ao followed was because Tang Ao saw something interesting. Because when Yi Guhong left the sect, there was a man and a woman not far away. To be more precise, it was a young girl in front, and a cold-looking youth was at the back. Tang Ao furrowed his brows when he saw the cold-looking young man. This was because Tang Ao could sense an aura of defeat coming from this young man. In other words, although this youth was young, the life force in his body was constantly flowing away. Even if he cultivated with all his might, he probably didn't have many years left. This youth obviously knew his own situation. At this moment, he was following behind Yi Guhong and the young girl, and he was also abnormally calm. Tang Ao noticed that Yi Guhong was indeed worthy of being Jing Wushang's favored disciple. At such a young age, he already had a cultivation at the first level of the Spirit Sea realm. This kind of martial arts talent was not inferior to Tang Ao's in the past. Not to mention the Seven Kills sect, even in some of the top sects, this youth would definitely be in existence like the moon surrounded by stars. However, because he had set a new rule and abolished the previous inner disciples, this Yi Guhong directly left. Towards this kind of person, Tang Ao was somewhat disgusted. Not to mention that Jing Wushang had done him a great favor. All these years, the Seven Kills sect had also not mistreated him. Otherwise, how could he have a cultivation at the first level of the Spirit Sea realm? But now, this guy had actually left just like that. Senior Brother Yi, are you really leaving the Seven Kills sect? The one who spoke was a young girl wearing a long skirt. Although she was still young and looked a little inexperienced, in a few years, she would definitely become a slender and elegant great beauty. Oh, it's Bai Qing. What's the matter? Speak, is it because Jing Wushang doesn't want me to leave? Go back and tell him that I, Yi Guhong, will never forget the kindness he has shown me over the years. As for the cultivation resources I have consumed over the years, I will repay him in double in 1 year at most. After Yi Guhong finished speaking, he didn't have the slightest intention of stopping and walked down the mountain. No, Instructor Jing Wushang didn't say anything. I just don't want you to leave. You, me, and Taizheng. Didn't the three of us cultivate together since we were young? You just don't have the status of an inner sect disciple anymore. Why do you want to leave the Seven Kills sect? Could it be that we don't have the cultivation resources of inner sect disciples? Can't we find cultivation resources ourselves? Bai Qing's eyes were already filled with tears. You have no idea how important martial arts talent and cultivation resources are to a martial artist. Do you know why you are only at the 6th level of the Origin martial realm, while I am at the 1st level of the Sea of Souls realm? That is because my martial Dao talent is better than yours, so I can also obtain twice the cultivation resources. In this way, even though we've been cultivating together all these years, the gap between us has only grown wider and wider. Chapter 2004. Ha ha ha, little fellow, you're right. You must be Yi Guhong of the Seven Kills sect. Without waiting for Bai Qing to speak, a group of people had already arrived at the foot of the Seven Kills sect. Seeing this group of people, Bai Qing's expression changed drastically. Because in this group of people, Bai Qing saw the sect leader of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect, the pavilion master of the Dragon Transformation Pavilion, and the other people from the ancient clans. Bai Qing also recognized the person who spoke just now. It was Xiahou Quangtian, who had quite a grudge with the Seven Kills sect. Xiahou Quangtian and their master, Jing Wushang, were of the same generation, but according to her master, this Xiahou Quangtian was even stronger than him. Bai Qing took a step back and said, "This is the territory of the Seven Kills sect. Without the permission of the Seven Kills sect, no one is allowed to enter." Facing an expert like Xiahou Quangtian, Bai Qing was very afraid. When Xiahou Quangtian heard Bai Qing's words, he was immediately enraged. Xiahou Quangtian raised his hand and threw out a spear light. Even against a junior like Bai Qing, Xiahou Quangtian didn't hold back at all. Seeing Xiahou Quangtian's spear light sweeping over, Bai Qing wanted to dodge, but she was shocked to discover that she couldn't move her body at this time. Seeing the spear light getting closer and closer to her, Bai Qing was very afraid. Was she going to die here today? But at this moment, Bai Qing suddenly saw a black-robed figure blocking in front of her. Bai Qing recognized this black-robed figure. It was her senior brother, Tai Jing. Compared to Yi Guhong, Tai Jing's martial talent was pitifully poor. However, although Tai Jing's martial talent wasn't good, he was a very good person. Although he looked cold on the outside, many of his fellow disciples had been taken care of by Tai Jing. Moreover, Tai Jing was also the most hard-working when cultivating. Elder Jing Wushang had once said that if it wasn't for Tai Jing's martial talent being too poor, then Tai Jing's cultivation wouldn't be too far off from Yi Guhong's. The reason was because Tai Jing was too hard-working in his cultivation. However, at this moment, Bai Qing clearly wanted Tai Jing to dodge, because even if Tai Jing could save her, Tai Jing would still die without a doubt. Compared to Bai Qing, who was frightened by Xiahou Quangtian, Tai Jing was abnormally calm. The spiritual energy in his body instantly erupted as the steel sword in his hand struck the spear radiance that Xiahou Quangtian had casually thrown out. Unfortunately, Xiahou Quangtian was already a martial artist at the 5th level of the life and death realm. How could Tai Jing be his match? Thus, with a cracking sound, the longsword in Tai Jing's hand was shattered by Xiahou Quangtian's spear radiance. Xiahou Quangtian's spear radiance did not stop as it shot towards Tai Jing's throat. Even so, Tai Jing did not give up. Tai Jing instantly threw away the broken sword and grabbed at Xiahou Quangtian's spear radiance with both hands. Tai Jing's hands were instantly drenched in blood, but Xiahou Quangtian's spear light had also deviated from its direction and brushed past his neck, finally shattering a huge rock behind Tai Jing and Bai Qing. Tang Ao saw all of this. If Tang Ao had been very disappointed in the disciples of Seven Kills sect before, then he would have been very disappointed in them. But at this moment, Tang Ao realized that he was wrong. At the very least, Tai Jing and Bai Qing were two disciples who were not crude at all. Xiahou Quangtian's attack had actually failed to kill Bai Qing, and had instead been affected by another kid. Xiahou Quangtian was immediately enraged. His figure flashed as he pressed towards Tai Jing and Bai Qing with a palm strike. Chapter 2005. This time, Tai Jing was in despair. In front of absolute strength, he did not even have the qualifications to risk his life. Under this terrifying spiritual pressure, he could only wait for death. However, what surprised Taizheng was that at this moment, a figure that was not very imposing suddenly appeared in front of Taizheng. Then, under Taizheng's shocked gaze, Tang Ao directly slapped Xiahou Guangtian's face. After being slapped by Tang Ao, the left side of Xiahou Guangtian's face immediately swelled up like a steamed bun. At the same time, blood and teeth spurted out of Xiahou Guangtian's mouth. The arrogant Xiahou Guangtian had immediately turned into a pig's head after a single move from Tang Ao. From Tang Ao's attack to Xiahou Guangtian flying back, everything had happened too quickly. It was so fast that even Xiahou Guangtian himself did not understand what was going on. Scram down the mountain. When all of you trash are here, this sovereign will naturally take care of you trash. Tang Ao saw that although Xiahou Guangtian's group had a lot of people, they were basically all from the ancient Xiahou family, Heavenly Star Sacred Sect, Dragon Transformation Pavilion, and some other sects that he had never seen before. If Tang Ao's guess was correct, the Heavenly Thunder Sect and the Divine Wind Sect of the 8 great sects of the mysterious Yellow Continent had yet to arrive, while the warriors of the Ouyang family and the Shao family had yet to arrive. After being slapped in the face by Tang Ao, and now being humiliated by Tang Ao in public, how could Xiahou Guangtian endure it? He immediately wanted to attack Tang Ao again. However, before he could do anything, a clear sound rang out on Xiahou Guangtian's face. At the same time, the left side of Xiahou Guangtian's face swelled up, and the remaining half of his teeth were sent flying by Tang Ao. Scram! Without waiting for Xiahou Guangtian to speak, Tang Ao said coldly. This time, Xiahou Guangtian was truly afraid of Tang Ao. At this time, Xiahou Guangtian naturally recognized Tang Ao. However, Xiahou Guangtian never would have thought that the current Tang Ao would become so terrifying. Xiahou Guangtian and the others had originally planned to gather at the foot of the mountain before going up. It was just that Xiahou Guangtian wanted to fish for some benefits, so he brought his men here in advance. What Xiahou Guangtian never thought that there would be such a terrifying existence like Tang Ao in the 7 Kills sect. Xiahou Guangtian had no doubt that if he had continued to stay, Tang Ao would have killed him without hesitation. Thinking of this, Xiahou Guangtian shivered. He didn't dare to say anything else and immediately fled down the mountain. Although it was humiliating to be slapped twice by Tang Ao, no matter how humiliating it was better than losing his life here. Thus, Xiahou Guangtian came quickly and left quickly. Xiahou Shiji's group, as well as the warriors of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect and the Dragon Transformation Pavilion, saw that Xiahou Guangtian had left so cowardly, naturally did not dare to stay and be beaten up. Everyone knew that Tang Ao was in the 7 Kills sect, but no one expected that after so many years, the current Tang Ao had already become so powerful. Yi Guhong also glanced at Tang Ao in fear. From Yi Guhong's point of view, the 7 Kills sect had already completely declined. At this moment there should be no more experts in the 7 Kills sect. However, what Yi Guhong never expected was that this new sect master, who looked young, actually had such a terrifying cultivation. Xiahou Guangtian of the ancient Xiahou family could be considered a first-rate expert in the entire profound Yellow Continent. However, when facing Tang Ao, Xiahou Guangtian didn't even have the ability to fight back. Chapter 2006. Within the 7 Kills sect, Tang Ao placed Taizheng and Bai Qing down. After which, Tang Ao waved his hands as his jade bone life force materialized. Due to forcefully blocking Xiahou Guangtian's attack just now, Taizheng's hands were already dripping with blood. However, under the healing of the jade bone life spirit, Taizheng's hands were soon as good as new. Many thanks, sect leader. Taizheng immediately bowed. Bai Qing, who was at the side, was slightly taken aback. She hurriedly bowed as well. Don't stand on ceremony. I'm very satisfied with the two of you. All of you like the 7 Kills sect so much, so the 7 Kills sect will definitely not disappoint all of you. Gather at the Tao Development Reserve, I'll be there soon. Even though the incident at the mountainside was very brief, it still quickly spread throughout the 7 Kills sect. Hearing that the Heavenly Star Sacred sect and the other sects had joined forces once again, those disciples who were preparing to leave the 7 Kills sect hurriedly left. In their opinion, if the Heavenly Star Sacred sect and the other sects came to the 7 Kills sect again, the 7 Kills sect without Elder Feng Yantian would definitely be finished. As for the disciples who chose to stay, when they heard that Tang Ao had taught Xiahou Guangtian a lesson, they all cried out in joy. Even though the new sect master had abolished the rights of the inner sect disciples upon his arrival, the new sect master did not hesitate in the slightest when facing enemies. He defeated Xiahou Guangtian from House Xiahou in one go. Thinking of this, everyone felt even more hopeful towards the 7 Kills sect. As for those disciples who were wavering, they were undoubtedly in even more pain. Tang Ao was able to crush Xiahou Guangtian, so there was no need to doubt the strength of this new sect master. But could this new sect leader really be like Grand Elder Feng Ye and contend against the joint forces of the major powers? If they didn't leave now and the 7 Kills sect was annihilated, they would definitely not be able to survive. If the 7 Kills sect was still able to resist the alliance of the great powers and survive, it would mean that the 7 Kills sect possessed enormous potential. In time, he would definitely become an existence that the other major forces could not deal with even if they joined forces. Should he stay or leave? This question could really stump someone to death. If it was in the past, as long as one's skin was thick enough, even if they left now, they could still come back after everything calmed down. But this time around, the new Grandmaster, Tang Ao, had said that anyone could leave the 7 Kills sect. But they would never be able to join the 7 Kills sect ever again. As time passed, these people had no choice but to make a decision. Some of them gritted their teeth and chose to stay. However, more people chose to leave. At this moment, no one knew what the right choice was. But among the disciples who stayed behind, no matter what the reason was, they all felt somewhat apprehensive. With 7 Kills sect's current strength, could they really contend with the joint forces of several major sects? If the 7 Kills sect were to lose, would they still have a chance to survive? Or would they be buried in history just like the 7 Kills sect? With perturbed feelings in their hearts, these disciples picked up their weapons and made sufficient preparations to gather at the Tao Development Reserve. The dense crowd from yesterday immediately became much more relaxed today. At this time yesterday, there were still more than 14,000 disciples from the 7 Kills sect. But now there were less than 5,000 disciples left. Even though the number of 7 Kills sect disciples had been reduced by more than half, Tang Ao was still very satisfied with the remaining disciples. Chapter 2007. You guys aren't bad. Since you've chosen to stay, then before I die, you won't suffer any damage. Tang Ao didn't waste any time and said directly. After saying that, Tang Ao continued, from today onwards, the disciples of the 7 Kills sect will be the same as before. Regardless of talent, you will all be outer sect disciples. Regardless of talent, as long as you pass the sect's test or reach a certain amount of contribution points, you will be able to become an inner sect disciple. Apart from the inner sect disciples, the 7 Kills sect will also add in core disciples. There will be a total of 10 core disciples, and the strongest 10 will be chosen from the inner sect disciples. As for the contribution points, I will explain them in detail after discussing with the elders. However, I have to say something now. Once the cultivators of the other factions enter the 7 Kills sect and kill 10 enemies, they will be promoted to inner sect disciples in advance. Of course, even if they don't kill 10 enemies, they will still be rewarded with a lot of contribution points and satisfactory rewards. As soon as Tang Ao said that, a thunderous sound exploded outside the sect. At the same time, everyone in the Seven Kills sect felt the ground tremble. Such a situation caused the expressions of many people to change. It seemed like the cultivators of the other sects could not wait any longer. They were already attacking the Seven Kills sect protecting array. Tang Ao's eyes turned cold and he said, "Elder Jiang Zhulu, open the sect protecting array. Since these people want to come to our Seven Kills sect, let them in." Hearing Tang Ao's words, Jiang Zhulu hesitated for a moment and said, "Sect Master, our Seven Kills sect protecting array was left behind by the founding ancestor. It will not be easy to break. Should we discuss a strategy before we fight the enemy?" Compared to Tang Ao, Jiang Zhulu and the others were not as confident. Back then, when Grand Elder Feng Ye was still alive, the 7 elders of the Seven Kills sect still died in battle. Even the sect master went missing. Jiang Zhulu and the others were naturally not afraid of death. However, they were really afraid that the Seven Kills sect would be destroyed in their hand. "There's no need. Just open the sect protecting array." Tang Ao waved his hand. The other party had already fought their way to their doorstep. What was there to discuss? They could just open the sect protecting grand array and kill them. Tang Ao didn't believe that these guys could be that powerful. After Tang Ao gave the order, Jiang Zhulu helplessly opened up the sect protecting array. After Jiang Zhulu opened up the sect protecting array, the martial artists from the other sects also rushed in instantly. The leader even laughed out loud. "Sect Master Tang is really bold. I thought that after old man Feng Ye died, the Seven Kills sect would only dare to hide in their turtle shells, ha ha." This person was an old man with red hair and a beard. The spirit power rippling from his body was extremely powerful. It had already surpassed Tang Ao, reaching the peak of life and death realm level 9. However, Tang Ao had no impression of this person because Tang Ao had never seen this old man before. This is the family leader of the Morong family, Morong Ji. Right now, his cultivation base is at the peak of life and death realm level 9. As if he knew that Tang Ao didn't know Morong Ji, Jiang Zhulu hurriedly reminded him. After Jiang Zhulu's reminder, Tang Ao nodded his head. Then, Tang Ao said something that left everyone dumbfounded. "Old man Morong, why didn't you enjoy your life in the Morong family? Why did you come to my Seven Kills sect to seek death?" When Morong Ji addressed Feng Ye as Supreme Elder earlier, he wasn't polite at all. Now that Tang Ao was facing Morong Ji, he naturally wouldn't be polite either. Morong Ji laughed out loud. "Great. I heard that Sect Master Tang Ao's cultivation base is impressive. Now let this old man experience it for myself." The moment Morong Ji's words landed, 2 blazing fire dragons flew towards Tang Ao. The fire dragons opened their mouths and spat out 2 blazing fireballs the size of millstones. At that moment, the temperature of the entire area rose by a few degrees. Chapter 2008. The battle between Tang Ao and Morong Ji was about to begin. After Tang Ao crushed Morong Ji's 2 fire dragons, the others exchanged glances and immediately charged towards Tang Ao. Lei Clan's Lei Python, Divine Wind Sect's Qing Fengyin, and even Xiahou Quangtian, who had just been taught a lesson by Tang Ao, had all made their moves. In the blink of an eye, Tang Ao was surrounded by 7 experts. The entire Seven Kills sect was instantly filled with all sorts of dazzling spiritual lights. Below, the other martial artists from the 7 major factions had also charged over. Jing Wushang and the rest wanted to help Tang Ao, but at this moment, Tang Ao yelled, "Don't let the life and death experts slaughter my Seven Kills sect's disciples." This time, the 7 major factions had clearly come prepared. Apart from the 7 life and death experts fighting with Tang Ao in midair, there were still more than 10 life and death experts present. Below them, there were still more than 10 life and death experts present. If no one went to stop them, Then the 7 kills sect's disciples would soon be wiped out by these life and death experts. This was naturally something that Tang Ao did not wish to see. This could be said to be a calamity for the 7 kills sect. As long as they could survive this, the 7 kills sect's future would only become smoother. Above, Tang Ao was facing 7 life and death experts at the same time, so the pressure was not small. But what made Tang Ao anxious was that Jing Wushang and the rest were unable to stop all the life and death experts of the 7 major factions. At this moment, a life and death expert charged into the midst of the 7 kills sect's disciples. With a casual palm strike, hundreds of 7 kills sect's disciples instantly died. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao's eyes were bloodshot. He was about to charge over and kill this martial artist. But at this moment, Tang Ao was being held back by Murongji, Lei Python, and the rest. He could not free himself for a while. As Tang Ao charged downwards, Xiahou Guangtian braced himself and charged over. The spear in his hand stabbed towards Tang Ao. Although Xiahou Guangtian had been stunned by Tang Ao earlier, now that Tang Ao was being held back by the others, Xiahou Guangtian, who was at the 5th level of the life and death realm, was also a threat to Tang Ao. Scram! Tang Ao swept out his sword domineeringly, blocking Xiahou Guangtian's spear. Scram! Tang Ao's sword swept out in an overbearing manner, blocking Guangtian's spear. Just as that 1st level life and death realm martial artist was about to attack the other disciples of the 7 kills sect, he suddenly felt the threat of death looming over him. He raised his head and saw a sky full of sword qi coming at him. Facing this incomparably powerful sword qi, there was only one thing he could do, and that was to wait for death. With a poochie sound, the 1st level of the life and death realm warrior did not even understand what was going on before he was shredded into pieces by Tang Ao's wind cloud slaughter. When the disciples of the 7 kills sect saw that Tang Ao was at a disadvantage against the experts of the 7 great powers, and even seized the opportunity to kill a 1st level life and death realm expert with a single sword strike, they immediately became spirited. When they saw so many warriors from the 7 great powers rushing in, everyone felt despair in their hearts. However, none of the disciples expected that the new sect master appointed by the Supreme Elder Feng Ye would be so domineering. After using the wind cloud slaughter to kill a life and death realm warrior, Tang Ao's sword did not stop moving. Streaks of lightning started to gather on Tang Ao's green lotus sword. Chapter 2009. In terms of aura, Tang Ao's thunderclap / wasn't as shocking as the Thunder Python's Thunder War Hammer. However, no one dared to underestimate the terrifying aura on Tang Ao's green lotus sword. One had to know that Tang Ao had easily killed a life and death warrior with a single strike. Although that life and death warrior was only at the 1st level of the life and death realm, there was no doubt about Tang Ao's battle prowess. Thunderclap / In the air, Tang Ao roared. Then, a crescent lightning sword aura from the green lotus sword bombarded towards them. At the same time that Tang Ao swung his sword, Murongji, who was behind Tang Ao, seized the opportunity and pushed out his hands. Instantly, 5 huge fireballs bombarded towards Tang Ao. After the 5 fireballs flew in front of Tang Ao didn't even have time to react before a terrifying explosion hit him. For a moment, smoke filled the air above the 7 kills sect and spiritual power surged. The terrifying might made it so that even those who were extremely far away from the 7 kills sect could see that a shocking battle was happening in the 7 kills sect. Did it work? Murongji looked at the dancing flames in the sky and carefully searched for Tang Ao's figure with his soul remembrance. After the others blocked Tang Ao's thunderclap / they also released their soul remembrance to search for Tang Ao's location. Where? Suddenly, Xiahou Guangtian pointed in a direction. When everyone looked over, they were immediately enraged. At that moment, Tang Ao had actually killed his way into the midst of the 7 factions' warriors. In just a moment, another 2 life and death warriors had fallen. Every life and death realm martial artist was nurtured by their respective forces with countless painstaking effort. However, not long after the battle started, 3 of their life and death warriors had already fallen. On the other hand, the 7 Kills sect had only lost a few Origin Martial Realm and Spirit Sea Realm disciples. As for the life and death elders, not a single one had fallen. The 7 of them didn't hold back at all. Under their siege, Tang Ao was still able to sneak attack their life and death warriors. If these words spread out, the 7 of them would lose all face. Murongji looked at Xiahou Quangtian, who had been beaten into a pig's head, and asked, "Such an important matter, why didn't Xiahou Linyuan come?" Murongji was very dissatisfied with House Xiahou. Although Xiahou Quangtian's cultivation at the 5th level of the natural death realm was not considered low, because Xiahou Quangtian was beaten up by Tang Ao previously, Murongji felt that Xiahou Quangtian was useless. Xiahou Quangtian also cursed in his heart. If his big brother, Xiahou Linyuan, could come, would the Xiahou family still need to join hands with these trash? However, Xiahou Quangtian did not dare to say these words. At this moment, Tang Ao was the enemy, there was no need to fall out with these fellows. When his brother emerged from his closed-door cultivation, the 8 great sects and 6 great houses of the primordial era would become history. House Xiahou would rule the continent. After Tang Ao had ambushed the warriors of the 7 great powers twice, the Thunder Python and the others had also strengthened their attack. In an instant, the pressure on Tang Ao had skyrocketed. At this time, Tang Ao did not want to be as calm as before. It was already impossible for him to ambush the life and death warriors of the 7 great powers again. The disciples of the 7 Kills sect looked up into the sky as they defended against the warriors of the 7 great sections. Chapter 2010. Screech. Suddenly, a soft cry came from the sky, attracting everyone's attention once again. This clear cry sounded like the cry of a phoenix. Everyone looked carefully and saw that there was indeed a phoenix flapping its wings in the sky. However, this phoenix was completely formed from sword chi. In the middle of the phoenix, Shao Clan's first elder was pierced through by sword chi. As the phoenix disappeared, the aura of the first elder of the primordial Shao clan instantly withered and eventually disappeared. At this point in the battle, the first life and death realm 7th stage martial artist had fallen. When Tang Ao killed Shao clan's first elder, his back also took a violent palm strike from Murongji. This palm strike was unavoidable. If Tang Ao dodged it, it would be impossible for him to kill Shao clan's first elder. Although Tang Ao would not be defeated quickly under the combined attacks of these 7 people, the situation would become more and more disadvantageous for 7 Kills sect as his spiritual power was consumed. Therefore, Tang Ao had to seize the opportunity to break through. Shao clan's first elder was undoubtedly a very good breakthrough. His attacks were very fierce, and he did not defend at all. The 2 life and death realm martial artists that Tang Ao killed were from Shao clan. How could he not be angry? However, in his anger, this Shao clan's first elder did not expect that Tang Ao would be willing to take a palm strike from Murongji to kill him. Puchi! As Tang Ao spat out a mouthful of blood, he was sent flying by Murongji's palm strike. Although he killed Shao clan's first elder this time, Murongji's palm strike made Tang Ao feel very uncomfortable. Even with the Jade Bone Life Spirit rapidly healing his internal injuries, Tang Ao still felt a burning pain in his internal organs. Murongji saw that Tang Ao's aura was only a little messed up after taking a palm strike from him. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Even if it was a martial artist of the same level, their internal organs would immediately be incinerated into nothingness after taking a palm strike from him without any preparation. Eventually they would explode and die. But looking at the current Tang Ao, there was no sign of his body exploding. It was as if nothing had happened to him. His aura, which had been a little chaotic earlier, was now recovering rapidly. Could it be that the inheritance of Emperor Hades is so powerful? Murongji could not understand it. He could only attribute it all to the inheritance of Emperor Hades that Tang Ao had received. After Tang Ao was sent flying by Murongji, he did not give Tang Ao any chance to catch his breath. Qing Fomin from the Divine Wind sect continuously pushed out his palms, and a tyrannical gale instantly enveloped Tang Ao in all directions. These astral winds kept converging towards the center, and the terrifying might could definitely shred any life and death realm martial artist into pieces. Tang Ao instantly slashed out dozens of sword chis. However, these sword chis were instantly shattered by the astral winds that gathered around them. With a swing of his sword, Tang Ao executed the waning winds and clouds kill. However, even with the waning winds and clouds kill, the first sword of the seven slaughter divine Tao, the astral winds only paused for a moment before they broke through the sword aura of the waning winds and clouds kill, crushing towards Tang Ao. Tang Ao's sword aura did not stop, and he executed the thunderclap slash once again. Under the thunderclap slash, the astral winds were finally broken by Tang Ao. However, before Tang Ao could escape in that direction, Thunder Python held the thunder scepter in his hand and sent a thunderbolt as thick as an arm down, forcing Tang Ao to retreat. Chapter 2011. Dang, dang, dang. When the endless wind blades struck the Farmer God Cauldron, a series of crisp sounds rang out from the Farmer God Cauldron. The Farmer God Cauldron was a Grade 9 immortal artifact. Although Tang Ao had yet to fully refine it, its defensive power was still very terrifying. However, after blocking the astral winds from the clear breeze chant, the Farmer God Cauldron retreated back into Tang Ao's body. I have to think of a way to kill off one more fellow. Observing the increasingly ferocious attacks from the 6 cultivators, Tang Ao pondered to himself. At that very moment, the cultivators from the 7 Kills sect and the cultivators from the 7 forces were in a stalemate. Although the two sides were not evenly matched, the situation was not completely one-sided either. A group of cultivators stood on a mountain not far away from the 7 Kills sect. They were all cultivators from the Luo family. Originally, the Luo family's old master had instructed them to quickly reinforce the 7 Kills sect. However, after arriving near the 7 Kills sect, they did not head towards the 7 Kills sect. Instead, they stopped here. Second Master, why don't we go and reinforce them? Otherwise, it will be hard to explain to the old master. Humph, it's fine. It is rumored that the Supreme Elder of the 7 Kills sect, Feng Ye, had fallen. That was why the 7 forces dared to attack the 7 Kills sect. However, judging by the current situation, how could Feng Ye have fallen? If Feng Ye had fallen, how could the 7 Kills sect hold on? We'll just stay here and wait for the cultivators from the 7 forces to retreat. Then, we'll head back and report back, Luo Huarn said coldly as he looked at the 7 Kills sect's great hall. Elder Xiao Linmu. Suddenly, a cry rang out from the battle below. Everyone turned to look and saw 2 arrows piercing through the body of the 7 Kills sect's 5th elder, Xiao Linmu. At the same time, another life and death cultivator made use of the opportunity to swing out with his sword. Immediately, an arrow of blood sprayed out from Xiao Linmu's eyes, giving him an incomparably wretched appearance. However, Xiao Linmu did not make a sound. Instead, he swung the long saber in his hand, cleaving a life and death cultivator from the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect in half. After that, Xiao Linmu spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he shouted, "Senior brother Tang Ao, strengthen the 7 Kills sect." After saying that, Xiao Linmu's body fell to the ground. Junior Xiao. Fifth Xiao. Fifth Xiao. At the sight of this, everyone from the 7 Kills sect cried out in sorrow. Death was Xiao family's sect. However, the intensity of the battle had far exceeded everyone's imagination. If the 7 Kills sect could still stand strong after this battle, then the 7 Kills sect and the other 7 factions would definitely not rest until one of them was dead. After Xiao Jiang Wu Clan 2 Jiang of Jiang Zhulu was at the 7th stage of the life and death realm, but he was facing 3 life and death realm warriors at the same time. Jiang Zhulu was at the 7th level of the life and death realm, but he was facing 3 life and death cultivators. But this time, Jiang Zhulu was no longer a giant whale in the rivers and lake. Instead, he was a small boat swaying in the wind and rain. Xiao Limu's tragic death was still fresh in his mind. Tang Ao would not let the tragedy repeat itself. Tang Ao took out his demon-slaying axe and sent Xiahou Guangtian, who was closest to him, flying. Then, he charged down again. But this time, Tang Ao was halfway there when the Dragon Transformation Pavilion's sect master stood in front of Tang Ao. Chapter 2012. With Hua Lingfeng in the way, it was impossible for Tang Ao to go and help immediately. However, what Tang Ao did not expect was that at this moment, a woman in a plain white dress suddenly flew in from outside the mountain gate of 7 Kills sect. She immediately pointed with her sword, and a sword lotus bloomed in mid-air. This sword lotus just happened to cut through the throat of a life and death realm warrior from the Evolving Dragon Pavilion. This life and death realm warrior from the Evolving Dragon Pavilion did not even understand what had happened before his consciousness gradually dissipated. After this woman, several life and death realm experts came from outside the gate of 7 Kills sect and quickly joined the battle. Thank you, Senior Sister Baixin. Jiang Zhulu took the opportunity to retreat and immediately thanked her. These experts were naturally not from 7 Kills sect, but from Green Lotus Valley. However, 7 Kills sect and Green Lotus Valley were extremely grateful. It was rumored that the founder of the Green Lotus Valley was the most outstanding disciple of the founder of the 7 Kills sect. Because the founder of the 7 Kills sect fell in love with her, he eventually left the 7 Kills sect and founded the Green Lotus Valley. Therefore, strictly speaking, 7 Kills sect and Green Lotus Valley were of the same origin. This time, when 7 Kills sect was in danger, Green Lotus Valley really came to their rescue. Yes. Baixin nodded and casually threw a bottle of pills to Jiang Zhulu. Then, she flew towards Tang Ao's battle. Tang Ao naturally saw Baixin and the others coming. In Tang Ao's opinion, even if 7 Kills sect had reinforcements, it should be the Luo family of the desolate antiquity. After all, 7 Kills sect and the Luo family had a deep relationship. However, to Tang Ao's disappointment, Tang Ao did not see any warriors from the Luo family of the desolate antiquity. Instead, it was the warriors from Green Lotus Valley who came to help. Tang Ao had seen the dossier of 7 Kills sect, so he knew some of the disputes between Green Lotus Valley and 7 Kills sect. It was reasonable to say that the 7 Kills sect and the Green Lotus Valley had some entanglements because the founder of the 7 Kills sect did not come together with the founder of the Green Lotus Valley, but he got together with the junior sister of the founder of the Green Lotus Valley. This emotional entanglement was very complicated. In any case, according to Tang Ao's understanding, the fact that the Green Lotus Valley did not go against the 7 Kills sect was already a blessing. As for the Green Lotus Valley helping the 7 Kills sect, that was simply unimaginable. However, with Bai Yunxin's help, the pressure on Tang Ao's side was instantly reduced. Without any hesitation, Tang Ao took out the primordial sacred sky bow. And the target of Tang Ao's primordial sacred heavenly bow was naturally Xiahou Guangtian. When Xiahou Guangtian saw Tang Ao's primordial sacred sky bow lock onto him, he immediately turned around and ran. Xiahou Guangtian knew how powerful the primordial sacred sky bow was. However, Xiahou Guangtian was shocked to discover that no matter how he ran, there was always an aura locking onto him from behind. When he turned around, Xiahou Guangtian saw a golden mysterious sky arrow flying towards him. "It's over." Seeing the mysterious sky arrow flying towards him, Xiahou Guangtian did not continue dodging. Because Tang Ao's profound heavenly arrow is something that he is unable to receive, nor is he able to dodge. Bam! After Tang Ao's arrow, Xiahou Guangtian exploded into a cloud of blood mist. With Xiahou Guangtian's death and the addition of the Green Lotus Valley's warriors, the situation between the two sides instantly reversed. Chapter 2013. Moreover, rumor had it that Tang Ao had obtained Underworld Emperor's inheritance. However, up until now, Murongji hadn't seen Tang Ao use Underworld Emperor's inheritance. This meant that Tang Ao was still quite confident at this moment. Therefore, even in this situation, he hadn't used the powerful means he had obtained from Underworld Emperor. In fact, although Underworld Emperor's inheritance was pretty good, even if Tang Ao used the Underworld Life Spirit, it wouldn't have any effect on defeating the enemy. Therefore, Tang Ao naturally didn't use the Underworld Life Spirit. With Tang Ao's current cultivation base, he couldn't bring out the true power of the Underworld Life Spirit. Therefore, he might as well use the Demon Beheading Axe and Primordial Sacred Sky Bow. Facing the retreat of the 7 major forces, Tang Ao didn't stop them. At this moment, Tang Ao had also consumed a lot of his strength. Continuing to fight would be meaningless. Of course, Tang Ao wouldn't forget today's matter. Once he broke through to Astral Reaching Realm, Tang Ao of the 7 major forces would certainly pay a visit. After the martial artists of the 7 major forces retreated, Bai Yunxin and the other 3 girls were about to leave. These 4 were life and death martial artists of Green Lotus Valley. They were also the only life and death martial artists of Green Lotus Valley apart from the Valley Master. Upon hearing that 7 Kills sect was in trouble, they immediately rushed over. Junior sister Bai, wait! Seeing that Bai Yunxin was about to leave, Tang Ao hastily shouted. Bai Yunxin frowned, then raised her head to look at Tang Ao. Clearly, she was waiting for Tang Ao to continue. Her personality was somewhat cold, and she didn't like to talk much. She also had some resistance toward male martial artists. If not for her master asking her to come to 7 Kills sect to help them out, she would never have come. Tang Ao smiled bitterly, then continued, Junior sister Bai, 7 Kills sect will never forget the great favor that Green Lotus Valley has done for us. However, Green Lotus Valley's actions have also offended the martial artists of the 7 major forces. Junior sister Bai, please tell Martial Uncle Zichen that if he is willing, our 7 Kills sect and Green Lotus Valley can return to the same sect. If you are not willing, then please be careful of the 7 great powers during this period of time. After Tang Ao said that, Bai Yunxin nodded and left. This made Tang Ao speechless in his heart. This girl was indeed beautiful, but her personality was too cold. However, Tang Ao clearly did not have the time to care about Bai Yunxin's personality right now. This time, Jing Wushang and the others were all injured, and the 7 Kills sect had less than 3,000 disciples left. Moreover, the majority of the disciples were also injured. In this battle, the 7 Kills sect lost an elder and over 1,000 disciples. The losses could not be said to be not small. Similarly, the 7 major forces were not much better off. Jing Wushang single-handedly killed 3 life and death realm martial artists, and the others also had some gains. As for Tang Ao, he had killed the great elder of the Xiao clan and Xiahou Guangtian of the Xiahou clan. Xiahou Guangtian's life and death realm 5th level cultivation was actually not bad, but it was a pity that Xiahou Guangtian met Tang Ao. Junior brother Jiang Zhulu, distribute these pills to everyone to heal. Also, seal the sect for 3 months. Other than the martial artists of Green Lotus Valley, no one else needs to pay attention to them. After saying this, Tang Ao handed a storage ring to Jiang Zhulu, then walked towards the sect master's hall. At this moment, the disciples who had survived the calamity were secretly rejoicing in their hearts. At the same time, after experiencing the tempering of blood, they had grown in an instant. Chapter 2014. Although Tang Ao was very powerful right now, compared to Great Master Fengya, who was at the astral reaching realm, Tang Ao was still a bit weaker. Of course, if Tang Ao was already at the first level of the astral reaching realm, then none of these people would be able to leave this place alive. Unfortunately, Tang Ao was still quite a distance away from the first level of the astral reaching realm. Although he was not badly wounded this time, Tang Ao would still need some time to recover. As time passed, the commotion caused by the battle slowly died down. The disciples of the 7-kill martial school continued to train under the guidance of the martial master. Among these 3,000 disciples, 30 of them had killed more than 10 enemies in the previous battle. Therefore, these disciples were directly promoted to inner disciples. Among these newly promoted inner disciples, some of them were not that talented in martial arts, but their battling power was undeniable. In this battle, Bai Qing and Tai Jing had also become inner disciples again. After going through this life and death battle, the two had grown a lot. At this time, there was also a piece of good news, which was that the 7-kill martial school's treasure vault and library had been divided into the outer treasure vault and library. As long as one managed to kill one enemy in the previous battle, they would be able to pick any treasure or book from the outer treasure vault. This sudden news made a lot of disciples very excited. Everyone happily headed to the outer treasure vault. These disciples who had survived had more or less gained something from the previous battle. Now that they were able to enter the martial school's treasure vault to pick out treasures, they were naturally very excited. As for the inner disciples, they could enter the inner treasure vault to pick out treasures. The treasures in the inner treasure vault were naturally taken out by Tang Ao. After these disciples entered the inner treasure vault, they were immediately dazzled by the dazzling array of treasures. Because compared to the inner court's treasure vault, the difference between the outer court's treasure vault and the outer court's treasure vault was like the difference between the heavens and the earth. However, the inner treasure vault had a total of 3 floors. This time, they could only pick out treasures on the first floor, and could only visit the second and third floors. However, everyone still saw the legendary immortal weapons and immortal martial arts, as well as some other legendary treasures. This made the disciples even more determined to complete more sect missions, so that they could obtain the treasures on the second or even third floor as soon as possible. There were also some disciples who discovered that in the past few days, none of the elders that they usually saw could be seen anymore. The reason why they were unable to see those elders was because all the elders of the 7 Kills sect had been gathered by Tang Ao. The reason Tang Ao had gathered these people was naturally to teach them the 7 Kills sect's ultimate technique, the 7 Kills sacred path. Junior brothers and sisters, you've all seen the 7 Slaughter divine path that senior brother Donkswinny used before. You've also seen the 7 Slaughter divine path that I used earlier. Now you should understand that the 7 Slaughter divine way is not a fixed cultivation method. Instead, it is a cultivation method that evolves new martial skills according to one's own situation. So, after you've cultivated the mental cultivation method, you can deduce the following things according to your own conditions. You don't need to cultivate according to a fixed form. Alright, you can start cultivating now. If there's anything you don't understand, feel free to ask me. After saying that, Tang Ao left the place and headed to the Lake Island where Supreme Elder Feng Ye had previously cultivated in seclusion. Chapter 2015. Tang Ao scanned out with his powerful soul remembrance, and very soon, Tang Ao found this teleportation array disk. This teleportation array disk was a very simple and unadorned stone platform, with a stone tablet on the side. There were many texts recorded on the stone tablet. In short, if one wanted to activate this array disk, they just had to practice the 7 killing divine Tao on the stone platform. After hesitating for a moment, Tang Ao decided to give it a try. Immediately, Tang Ao walked onto the stone platform and performed the first sword of the 7 killing divine Tao, Wind and Cloud Slaughter. After Tang Ao performed the Wind and Cloud Slaughter, Tang Ao clearly felt the stone platform shake a bit, but it soon returned to normal. The sword aura in Tang Ao's hand didn't stop, and he continued to perform the second sword, Thunder Strike. After Tang Ao used the thunderclap chop, the intensity of the tremors increased, but it was still not enough to activate the array disk. Tang Ao didn't stop. The sword aura in his hand rose again, and with a light cry, he performed the third sword of the 7 killing divine Tao, 9 Heavens Phoenix Dance. Under the 9 Heavens Phoenix Dance, the stone platform shook more and more, but it still didn't activate the teleportation array disk in the end. After putting away the green lotus sword, Tang Ao walked down the stone platform. Up until now, Tang Ao had only used the green lotus sword to derive these 3 swords. But obviously, these 3 swords were still not enough to activate the teleportation array disk. Tang Ao estimated that in order to activate the teleportation array disk, he would have to derive more than 4 swords. Otherwise, even if Supreme Elder Feng Ye had cultivated the 7 killing divine Tao to the 4th level, he wouldn't have been unable to activate the array disk. In the future, Tang Ao would have to leave the Black-Yellow continent. Because of the incomplete rules of heaven and earth in the Black-Yellow continent, after cultivating to the peak of astral reaching realm level 9, he wouldn't be able to continue cultivating. In his previous life, Tang Ao mistakenly thought that the peak of astral reaching realm level 9 was already the peak of martial Tao, so he didn't continue to explore. But in this life, Tang Ao knew that there were many realms above the astral reaching realm level 9. Naturally, Tang Ao wanted to pursue an even wider world. Since he would have to use this teleportation array disk to leave sooner or later, Tang Ao decided to stay here and deduce the 4th sword of the 7 killings Sage Tao. Up until now, the 7 slaughter divine way could be considered the most miraculous cultivation technique Tang Ao had ever seen. This kind of cultivation technique did not adhere to one style. Different warriors cultivated the 7 killing divine way, which was completely different. Tang Ao mainly cultivated the sword, so the martial techniques that Tang Ao derived using the 7 kills Sage Tao were also sword technique. Tang Ao calmed himself down and sat down cross-legged. Within Tang Ao's sea of wisdom, Tang Ao's consciousness continued to endlessly display the first 3 swords of the 7 killing Sage Tao. After familiarizing himself with the 3 moves, Tang Ao began to activate the 7 slaughtering Sage Path's mental cultivation method to deduce the 4th move. In Tang Ao's sea of consciousness, endless sword chi swept and surged. These sword techniques were deduced by Tang Ao, but they were quickly discarded by Tang Ao. This was because Tang Ao had a feeling that these were not the true 4th sword. As Tang Ao continued to deduce, at a certain moment, a feeling of desolation and loneliness welled up in his heart. Tang Ao's heart shook, and he immediately grabbed hold of this feeling and continued to deduce. Soon after, Tang Ao felt a desolate sword intent sweeping through everything. This sword intent did not have the slightest bit of emotion. It was bone-piercing cold like 10,000-year-old ice. This sword intent seemed to be the purest form of killing between the heaven and earth. Within this sword intent, Tang Ao could not even feel the existence of life. Following this feeling, Tang Ao deduced the 4th sword again and again in his sea of consciousness. Tang Ao was completely immersed in the derivation of the 4th sword, forgetting the passage of time in the outside world. Chapter 2016. Thanks to Tang Ao's knowledge, Jing Wushang and the others quickly cultivated the first level of the 7-kill sage path. Just as Tang Ao had said, the 7-kill sage path had no fixed form. The reason they hadn't been able to cultivate the 7-kill sage path all these years wasn't because they didn't have enough comprehension or that it was too difficult to cultivate. It was because there was a problem with the direction of their cultivation from the very beginning. The 7-kill sage path had been left behind by the 7-kills sect's founding ancestor. The cultivation method was only left behind by the founding ancestor for the younger generation to refer to. It was just that they didn't understand this point. Generations of 7-kills sect disciples had been cultivating it according to the book. It was also because of this that there were fewer and fewer disciples in the 7-kills sect who could cultivate the 7-kill sage path. In their generation, only Tang Ao and Dongxian Yi had managed to cultivate the 7-kill sage path. After cultivating the first level of the 7-kill sage path, the few of them went to look for Tang Ao. Then, they saw Tang Ao sitting beside the array disk on the island in the center of the lake. There were waves of mysterious fluctuations around him. The few of them didn't disturb Tang Ao and left quietly. Previously, they had already seen that Tang Ao's 7-kill sage path had been cultivated to the 3rd level. Now, they didn't need to think too much to know that Tang Ao was definitely trying to break through to the 4th level of the 7-kill sage path. In the spiritual sea, Tang Ao had already brandished his sword countless times. This desolate and lonely feeling was getting clearer. However, Tang Ao felt that something was still missing, causing him to be unable to derive the 4th sword. If Tang Ao wanted to, he could also use the 4th sword now. However, Tang Ao still felt that the 4th sword he derived in this way wasn't perfect. While Tang Ao was anxious and confused, the spiritual power in his body started to riot. This was a sign of qi deviation. Even though Tang Ao had the 9 Dragons Emperor's jade body, he was still in danger of qi deviation when he was completely immersed in his deductions. Fortunately, at this time, a cool and gentle feeling flowed through Tang Ao's body. This was naturally the jade bone life soul guiding and calming the roaring spiritual power in Tang Ao's body. There was a plain called the Midnight Continent that was very close to the Black-Yellow Continent. Bang! Following a terrifying explosion, the sky full of skysteel rocks scattered in all directions. The skysteel rock was a type of first-grade immortal material. When refining low-grade immortal artifacts, many equipment refiners would choose this kind of immortal material that was easy to mold and extremely hard. At this moment, the sky steel rocks in front of Dongxuani had been artificially constructed into a series of steel doors. After exploring the Midnight Continent for so long, Dongxuani knew that this place had the only teleportation formation in the entire Midnight Continent that was connected to the Black-Yellow Continent. If Dongxuani knew about arrays, then he could completely open this outer defensive formation and directly use the teleportation formation inside to return to the Black-Yellow Continent. Unfortunately, Dongxuani was only obsessed with martial arts and knew nothing about arrays. Therefore, Dongxuani could only use brute force to break down these sky steel rock doors. Dongxuani used his soul remembrance to investigate and found out that there were still 99 more sky steel rock doors. With his current speed, he would be able to break through one in another year. Right now, Dongxuani had already reached the peak of life and death realm level 9, and could break through to the astral reaching realm at any time. However, what made Dongxuani helpless was that the natural rules of this Midnight Continent were even lower than the Black-Yellow Continent. In this place, the peak of life and death realm level 9 was already the limit. Ever since Dongxuani had been suppressed by the natural rules when he tried to break through to the astral reaching realm, he didn't dare to try to break through here. Instead, he had to suppress his own cultivation. He pushed out another palm. Under this palm strike, the whole cave shook violently, as if it would collapse at any moment. However, Dunkswinny knew that this cave would not collapse. From the first day he used brute force to attack the sky steel rock doors. This place had been like this. Chapter 2017. Cultivation knew no time. On this day, Tang Ao had already been sitting on the island in the lake for half a year. During this time, Tang Ao had been sitting cross-legged on the island without making any movements. If it weren't for the fact that Tang Ao's aura was growing stronger, Jing Wushang and the others would have thought that something was wrong with Tang Ao. When Jing Wushang and the others came to the island to see Tang Ao again, the originally calm island suddenly shook. Then, everyone watched in shock as countless sword chi flew out from the island in the center of the lake and shot out in all directions. These sword chi shattered the boulders around the island in the center of the lake and sent the water splashing hundreds of feet into the air. A desolate and lonely sword intent spread out in all directions. Under the influence of this sword intent, even Jing Wushang and the others felt their hearts tremble. Is this senior apprentice brother Tang Ao's fourth sword? How terrifying! Fang Xiuling felt the murderous aura flowing around him and was secretly shocked. The current Fang Xiuling was no longer as immature as before. After becoming an elder of the Seven Kills sect, he had even grown a beard. Coupled with his handsome face, he looked quite charming. We haven't slacked off in our cultivation for the past 6 months, but after 6 months, the gap between us and senior apprentice brother Tang Ao has only grown wider. Jiang Zhulu sighed inwardly. Ever since the upheaval in the Seven Kills sect half a year ago, Jiang Zhulu had been cultivating even harder than before. But what made Jiang Zhulu feel helpless was that even though he had been cultivating so hard, the gap between him and Tang Ao was still quite large. Senior apprentice brother Tang Ao should have deduced the Seven Kills Sacred Way's fourth sword. He truly deserves to be one of the 2 geniuses of the Seven Kills sect in the past 1,000 years. This time, it was Kasahara Yuki who spoke. When she was young, Kasahara Yuki had many suitors. Now that she had grown up, her charm had grown even greater. She had an angelic face and a devilish figure, making it hard for anyone to look away from her. Unfortunately, Kasahara Yuki's personality was somewhat cold. After so many years, not a single male cultivator had managed to win her heart. It was unknown whether it was because she already had someone in her heart or because she had no interest in men. On the island in the middle of the lake, Tang Ao slowly sheathed his sword. The fourth sword of the 7 Slaughter Divine Tao, the 8 Desolations sword chi, was finally complete. In fact, as early as half a year ago, Tang Ao had already deduced the universal sword chi, but Tang Ao had always felt that this sword was not perfect enough, so he spent half a year constantly polishing it. But in the end, Tang Ao found himself trapped in a demonic barrier. There was nothing perfect in this world, and swordsmanship was no exception. Because he pursued the perfection of this sword too much, he almost went berserk. Although he had deduced the fourth sword, he had wasted half a year's time. If Tang Ao had been able to derive the fourth sword half a year ago, with his life and death realm 8th layer cultivation base, he would have been able to take down the weaker ones among the 7 major parties, removing their threat to the 7 Kill martial school. Unfortunately, things didn't go as he wished. He had only figured this out after half a year. In this half a year, although the 7 major forces had not recovered to their peak state, they had definitely recovered. Now that he had lost the best opportunity to eliminate them, Tang Ao could only wait for a while longer. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.